where we are almost ready to get underway with the pre-finals of the F100 categories. Where the weather has been looking good all day, the temperature's increased, the sun has come out, but there are a few dark clouds lurking in the air now. As the first pre-final just gets off the grid now, it's pre-2000. Unsurprisingly, having won both the races so far today and qualified second, Ramy Eastwood will start from pole position alongside Gary Turkington. Donald Reagan in the 22 kart starts third alongside Drew Stewart, who's recovered very well after qualifying only 8th yesterday. Noel Brennan in number 14 starts fifth alongside Derek Wilson, despite that seize in the first race. Francis Stewart starts down in 7th, so he's been saved by his qualifying performance after 2 collisions in both of the races so far. Adam Wardell starts up in 10th alongside Gary Watling in 9th. Chris Trott all the way down in 12th. He starts alongside James Barkley. As the karts come round now to complete their first rolling lap, I would imagine they're going to go around once again. The races have been pretty interesting so far today. First race with carnage on the first lap, and the second race as a reverse grid race. A very impressive performance from Ramy Eastwood. Perhaps not surprising, given that he runs the circuit. Nevertheless, going from the back to the front was quite a feat that he pulled off. Gary Turkington didn't quite make the progress that I expected him to. But nevertheless, he does start on the front row, and he did have good pace in the first race before he stopped on circuit. So let's see if he can pull it back and win this pre-final. Just to explain once again, the finishing position from this pre-final would determine the grid for the final. So this is quite possibly the most crucial race of the day so far. The cars lead round. They start to slow down a bit now, so they will probably get going this time round. As you see there, Ramy Eastwood checking over his shoulder, making sure the karts are all close together so that we can get a proper start this time. As they head round now to the final part of the lap, and I imagine we are going to get a green light this time. Just tweaking the carburetors there, just making sure it's not too rich on the fuel setting. And we get a green light this time, and the top 4 break away pretty well there. Ramy Eastwood leads at the moment, ahead of Donald Reagan, who gets up into second. He's ahead now of Turkington. Drew Stewart remains in 4th position. He's dropped back just a little bit. So Turkington drops down to 3rd then, but I imagine he'll have the pace to come back, and he is already coming back up the inside on the run up the hill, but just clips the curb and loses speed. And Drew Stewart is getting up the inside, going into the top corner. He's ahead now. So that's a bad first lap for Turkington. He wouldn't have liked that at all. It's a couple of moves further back. It looks like Chris Trott is coming through the field pretty well, having started all the way down in 12th. It looks to be well inside the top 10 now. So Chris Trott, if he has good pace, he can get back up to the sharp end. So Ramy Eastwood has pulled out quite a gap at the end of this first lap. And right ahead of Donald Reagan. And Drew Stewart looks to be keeping up with him. Oh, Reagan goes a bit wide, and Stewart's right up behind him now. As they head down the back straight, Turkington all over the back of Drew Stewart, practically pushing him up that straight. So Turkington certainly has the pace to live with the front 3. But he's cost himself time by losing those positions on lap 1. It looks like he's up the inside, but not quite close enough to make the overtake stick. And look right behind them, we've got the number 14 of Noel Brennan. He's had good pace all throughout the weekend. And right behind them is Francis Stewart. He's gone all the way up into 6th place. As they come round the final part of the lap, Turkington all over the back of Drew Stewart. Donald Reagan with a bit of a gap now, as Francis Stewart has gone off again on the first corner. And there's another car that's seized on the first corner as well. So Francis Stewart, not sure what's happened there. He looked like he just lost it on the way into the corner. And Turkington, down the inside, gets back up into third place. So Drew Stewart looking like he's struggling for pace. Chris Trott down the inside of Gary Wadling. So Chris Trott's made up another place, but I don't know what's happened to Francis Stewart there. He's trying to get his kart back onto the circuit. So he's trying to push start it again, so obviously not an engine seize. And look at Noel Brennan now, all over the back of Drew Stewart. So Stewart struggling once again for pace. All the while, Ramey Eastwood continues to lead. And Donald Reagan continues to run in second place, but Turkington right up behind him now, as you can see on the screen. 3 laps completed. Tending to run a little bit wide on each of the corners. It doesn't look like he's got great front-end grip, does Donald Reagan. And Turkington down the inside, getting back up into second place. So he's now back up to where he started, as Noel Brennan has got past Drew Stewart there. Up into 4th position then for Noel Brennan. He looks to have decent pace. And look at Reagan, he's coming back at Turkington. Good stuff. So Turkington may be faster, but he wasn't able to keep the position there. And all the while, Ramey Eastwood's pulling out quite a big gap now. So it's 1.5 seconds last time over the line, but it'll be more than that this time with these two fighting like this. And Francis Stewart was not able to get the kart running again. I can see him outside the commentary box window. It's through the first corner. Turkington all over the back of Reagan, but not able to do anything with it. And the number 16 spins right in front of the commentary box. That's Derek Wilson. Not sure what happened there, whether there was contact or whatever. As Chris Trott makes up another position. He's passed Oliver Smith and the number 2 kart. So he's now up into 6th position. As Turkington down the inside once again on Reagan, finally takes back that 2nd position. And the number 14 of Noel Brennan gets by as well. He's up into 3rd place. Tremendous overtake there from the number 14. Great confidence. And can he now go with Turkington as they come round to the end of lap number 4? Eastwood leads by 3 seconds now. So coasting out front. Turkington still in 2nd. Let's see if he can reel that gap back in. There's less than 3 minutes left. This race has gone by in a flash. And Drew Stewart's just been passed by Oliver Smith. And Smith managed to get back ahead of Chris Trott. So there's a hell of a battle going on here. Oh, a bit of contact there. And both of them are off. Stewart's managed to keep going, but Chris Trott into the barriers there. Tried to go down the inside. Almost looked like he tried to sort of push Drew Stewart a little bit closer to the barrier, and that was not happening. Let's see a replay here. Down the inside, we don't see from this. Yes, I don't think Chris Trott gave him quite enough room there, in my opinion. And unfortunately, he was the one that came off worse. And Turkington is slightly faster then. 0.3 of a second on that last lap. Quicker than Eastwood. Drew Stewart then, after that incident, dropped down to 9th place. So he's dropped down all the way from 4th to 9th. Didn't look like he had fantastic pace anyway, but that incident hasn't helped his cause. As they head up the hill now, number 14 of Noel Brennan, unable to live with the pace of Turkington. And Reagan not able to live with the pace of Brennan. And there's some fighting further back. Lunge down the inside there. From the number 84 kart. Right behind Ben Yemens. 24 kart even. There's only 1 minute left in this race. So they will have time for one more lap. As Eastwood He's already halfway around the lap, so they'll have another lap. Another 2 laps even, in addition to this one that they're on right now. Oliver Smith has got Gary Watling right behind him as they head up the hill. And he's trying down the inside, but not able to brake late enough. Oliver Smith braking super late there. And covering off the line going into that hairpin. Heading down the hill. Can he get a run? He does, but not a good enough run. As they head round to the last part of the lap, he might be able to get a run down the start-finish straight, but he's got Ben Yemens right behind him, and Andy Black. We saw that overtake a second ago. They're both closing in on this battle. In round the first corner, is he able to make a lunge? No, not quite close enough. But now coming off the corner, is he able to make a lunge? This is a late apex corner, so it leaves the door open, but not quite close enough again. Oliver Smith putting his car in the right part of the track on every single corner. He's having to go a bit defensive now, and Ben Yemens looking down the inside. But in the end, there goes Gary Watling through on the inside, and there's a lunge there from Andy Black. Past Ben Yemens he goes. Can he now keep up with Oliver Smith and see if he can have him as well? Coming on to the start finish again. The last lap board has just been put out for Ramey Eastwood, the race leader. Turkington, he's closed the gap to 1.9, but he hasn't closed it nearly enough as we follow this battle for 5th position between Gary Watling, Oliver Smith. And down the inside goes Andy Black. And he goes up into 6th position. And Ben Yemens going up the hill now. Can he have a run at Oliver Smith as well? Not braking quite late enough. Going into that corner. As round the final part of the circuit, Ramey Eastwood goes. Quite a straightforward race for him in the end as he rounds the final corner and takes the checkered flag. Turkington comes on across the line in 2nd. And Gary Watling does come across the line in 5th in the end. So that was a close battle there. And that card in that battle was not Andy Black, I apologise. It was Ross Kernow. So Ross Kernow putting in some cracking overtakes there in that race. So this is the result then. Ramey Eastwood takes the victory by a couple of seconds ahead of Gary Turkington. So that start cost Gary Turkington dear as he was able to match Eastwood's lap times throughout that race. Noel Brennan coming home in 3rd. A great race for him, having started in 5th position. Donald Reagan coming home in 4th place ahead of Gary Watling, Oliver Smith, Ben Yemens, Adam Wardell, and Ross Kernow in there somewhere, though it's not showing on the results. Andy Black ahead of Stephen Cook-Martin. A couple of cars to recover then. Francis Stewart, one of them, really not having a good day. 3 incidents in 3 races so far, so hoping for an incident-free race. He'll be starting from the back. Has it all to gain, as does Chris Trott, who after that collision with Drew Stewart ended up retiring from the race. I hope he's starting from the back as well. This final is sure to be one not to be missed. Make sure you catch it. Up next then is the F100 Aquas, pre-89s and pre-95s, of which looks like Alex Kirby starting from pole, unsurprisingly having won both races and qualified on pole position. Pete Dunne starts 2nd, with Stan Warner running in 3rd and Brad Beavers in 4th. It's been a bad day for Brad Beavers so far. That's the junior grid, I apologise. There's pole position for Jake Calvert, I apologise, in the F100 Aqua. He'll be starting alongside James Reese, and then Alan Woodrow will be starting behind them. In the pre-95s, Meanwhile, Alistair Topless, despite that collision with Leon Dolby in the last race, starts from pole position ahead of Chris Derrick, Pete Bracken and Leon Dolby. And then Andrew Godfrey behind them. So going round towards the end of the lap now. Jake Calvert leading them round. Meanwhile, Chloe Scott's in there in the pre-89, trying to get them maybe to speed up a little bit so that her engine doesn't oil up. You can see the pre-95s close behind. I'm not sure if they'll get going this time because Andrew Godfrey's quite a long way behind, and they are going round again. And Chris Derrick appears to have a problem. He's pulled off by the side of the track on the way over to the first corner. So what on earth has happened to Chris Derrick? He looked like one of the favorites going into today, and he appears to have stopped by the side of the track. The chain looks like it's on just fine. I'm just looking out of the window. So maybe the kart's oiled up potentially a little bit. Whatever the cause, Chris Derrick is out of this race before it's even begun. Fortunately for him, the grid's not that big, so he'll be starting 5th place in the final, which is the back. Even so, that's not what he wants when he's in a fight with Alistair Topless for the win for this O-plate. So dramatic stuff before the race has even begun. Meanwhile, the rest of the karts are making their way around to the grid, and Andrew Godfrey is coming up to the back of the pack now, so we should get a start this time round. Jake Calvert then going around the final corner, keeping the pace nice and slow. Alongside James Reese, who won the last race, well ahead. Green light, and we're underway. Calvert leads through turn 1. Meanwhile, on the pre-95s, Alistair Topless leads through the first corner ahead of Pete Bracken. Jake Calvert then holds position ahead of James Reese, who was much quicker in the last race. But if Calvert's able to hold him behind, it doesn't matter how much quicker he is. Alistair Topless already bridging just a small gap over Peter Bracken and Leon Dolby, who's trying to go through as they come up, and Pete Bracken's off. Peter Bracken's off at the top of the hill. He tried to go down the inside of Alan Woodrow and just lost it in avoidance, almost. He's been able to get the kart going again, but that's it for him. So this fight now is between Alistair Topless and Leon Dolby, as it was in the last race. Meanwhile, there's a fight for the lead going through the first corner. Down the inside goes the 71 of James Reese. He is now ahead of Jake Calvert, who started this race from pole. Can he fight back going up the hill? He is getting back down the inside. It's a great battle here at the moment. As down the hill Calvert goes, he's able to hold on to the lead. Up the hill. He may have to defend here going up the hill, but James Reese not quite close enough to have a go down the inside. As they head down the hill into the hairpin once again, not close enough to outbrake him. Meanwhile, Alistair Topless is bridging a gap now over Leon Dolby, with Chloe Scott in between them in the pre-89, the sole pre-89. Down the start finish once again. James Reese, not close enough to have a go into turn 1. What about turn 2? This tightening apex of a corner, but he's not quite close enough. But he does go wide, does Jake Calvert. He's got the inside line, but he's going to get a bad exit coming off here. And through goes James Reese. Does he? No, not quite. He didn't quite have the drive to get down the inside. This is a terrific battle at the moment. Jake Calvert taking quite a lot of road on the exit there of that off-camera corner, and you can see the water splashing up from where there's excess water in the curb. So through the top section of circuit, then they go. You can try and move into this corner here. You'd have to be opportunistic, and you'd have to leave the braking very late. Heading around the last part of the lap, a little bit wide from Jake Calvert, but carrying good speed through. They come around the final corner. 5 minutes to go, and look at this. Reese is down the inside and does get through into the lead now. Now can Jake Calvert fight this back? Coming through the next couple of corners. He's been able to get good drive coming off of this corner here. But I don't think he's quite close enough. No, he almost tried to move. But he wasn't quite close enough to give it a go. Into the carousel. Maybe he can get a good drive off here. Going up the hill. You get a small slipstream effect because of the wind. Is he going to try down the inside? They're both leaving. They're braking very late. He's not close enough to have it go into there. Is he going to have a lunge back? Yes, he is. But James Reese is going to get the better line going into the second hairpin. And he does hold on to the lead. Calvert still not giving up, though. He's going to fight this as they come onto the start-finish once again. He has a slipstream, but it's not good enough to get him close. Well, James Reese might have dominated the last race, but he's not dominating this by any stretch. Meanwhile, in the pre-95s, Alistair Topless continuing to keep his gap to Leon Dolby. As Jake Calvert not quite close enough this time. You get the impression now that James Reese might pull away out front unless he can get back in front within the next couple of corners, unless he makes a mistake. Still quite close. Not quite close enough to make a lunge, though. As they head down the hill into the hairpin, he's just got a cart length or two on Jake Calvert. But he's close again, not pulling away that much. Onto the start-finish, it was 0.2 last time round. What's the gap this time? It is 0.4 of a second between James Reese and Jake Calvert. And he does look now as though he is beginning to control this race. Still looking over his shoulder, still concerned about Jake Calvert. Calvert's taking tremendous speed into the corners. And you can see the rear wheel hopping up as he turns the kart in. How much grip these new chassis have. Meanwhile, we pick up Alistair Topless, leading the race in pre-95. Quite plain sailing at the moment. After Chris Derrick retired before he even got started. Unfortunately, robbing us of a pretty decent fight. Alistair still driving the wheels off the kart, though. So just under 2 minutes left in this race. It's been a thriller between the top two, between James Reese and Jake Calvert. Calvert showing a brilliant fighting spirit and not giving up, despite the fact that Reese does have slightly better pace. Ooh, kicking up water there. I can see out of the commentary box window on the exit of that off-camber corner. Amazing that even though there's not been significant rain since yesterday afternoon, there's still water in these curbs. As the two leaders then, we pick them up running down the hill. And there is a few more kart links now, and again, pushing the limits of the track and kicking up some water, and so does James Reese. He's pushing hard as well. He's having to keep on his toes, and you see him there shaking his head and looking over his shoulder again. Half a second between the top two with just a minute left. James Reese does not have it comfortable in this race like he did last time round. Going into this off-camber corner, this is where Jake Calvert carries tremendous speed. Alistair Topless then in the pre-95 has bridged the gap to Leon Dolby in second place. And Pete Bracken is still running, but he's now about half a lap down on the race leader. The two leaders then coming around the last corner. Will they have time for another lap? There's 14 seconds left, so I don't think there's going to be time to get another lap in. They haven't put the last lap board out. So they are going to get an additional lap. And that is the last thing that James Reese wants. Now it goes to 0. But he's going to have to keep pushing for another lap. And Jake Calvert looked to have quite a good exit off that corner, so he's still not giving up. And the gap is staying around half a second. Heading into the top corner, they look closer this time round. But not quite close enough to make a move just yet. Going downhill into the hairpin. This time round, they are going to get the last lap board. Coming round the final corner now and onto the start finish straight for the final time. Last lap board's out. Gap between them is half a second. James Reese leads the race currently ahead of Jake Calvert. Both of them have had terrific pace. They've been able to bridge a 22-second gap over Alistair Topless, the leader in the pre-95s. You see there James Reese just adjusting the carburetor on the car just slightly. As they head now up to the back straight, Alistair Topless has started the final lap in pre-95. As we see here, the race leader, he can afford to take it easy now with a bit of a gap over Leon Dobby, about 5 seconds. Meanwhile, James Reese and Jake Calvert are coming around the final couple of corners now. And very wide from James Reese. Doesn't want to be doing that on the final lap. He is feeling the pressure, but it's too late for Jake Calvert as James Reese takes a victory in a thrilling race by just 0.2 of a second. Alistair Topless now coming around the final section of track. So a brilliant race there. Comes around the final corner and does take the checkered flag. Chokes the kart. So he will be starting from pole position in the final. And James Reese will be starting on pole position in the final from Jake Calvert. Chloe Scott crosses the line to take victory in the pre-89s as they come into the pit lane now. Pete Bracken, as we see here, coming across the line, having spun off early on. What could he have done? And Alan Woodrow finally crossing the line in the number 72 F100 Aqua. James Reese then takes victory by just 0.2 of a second in a brilliant battle between him and Jake Calvert. Alistair Topless takes quite a comfortable victory ahead of Leon Dolby and Peter Bracken in the pre-95s. Chloe Scott, as I said, taking victory in the sole pre-89 karts. So Chris Derrick then is going to have to come through from the back. So he's going to have to come from 5th position as the officials there putting the wall back together after Chris Trott went into it in the pre-2000 race. And next up is the junior F100, in which we have Alex Kirby on pole position, Pete Dunn in second, Stan Warner in third, and Bradley Beavers in fourth. Be interesting to see what Bradley Beavers can do. His pace looked quite good in the last race, but he wasn't able to show it as he was already a lap down after the first lap. So the jig is then being started up. I can look at my commentary box window and I can see they're started by starter motors, much like TKM's. So not direct drive like the other F100 karts are. as they head round on their formation lap now. Hopefully these guys can make it around the first corner in one piece after the last race, where 3 of them were off on the first corner. Stan Warner hasn't got going yet. I can see out the commentary box window they're having to lift the back of the cart up, but they have now finally got him going. So Stan Warner, who spun off on the first corner and caused a few others to go off with him in the last race, finally gets going. I would imagine they will send these carts around for another warm-up lap. Indeed, they have been sent round once again. You just need to ease off while Stan Warner catches up with them, being allowed to use the cut-throughs on the car circuit. As he heads down the start-finish straight now, you can see him on your screens, just catching up. And Alex Kobe being told to slow the pace down by the officials so that Stan Warner can catch up. So it's starting to come over a little bit grey again. I can see some clouds in the distance. We're not forecast any rain, but it is looking a bit dark now. What's happened to Alex Kobe? Alex Kobe, the favourite to win this race, has just stopped on the way up the hill and getting out of the kart now. So it appears the kart just ground to a halt, and she is pulling it off to one side. So that's a disaster there. It does mean now that Pete Dunne will inherit pole position, albeit he is on the wrong side of the track. He is still on the outside going into the first corner, although he has just reformed them by the looks of it. So Pete Dunne does now have the inside line. I imagine they're going to get going this time. Green light. And into the first corner, Pete Dunne leads the race ahead of Bradley Beavers. And they have all managed to make it around the first corner without issue. Bradley Beavers down the inside takes the lead straight away. Let's see if Peter Dunne has anything to respond with. Tries down the inside, but takes the curb and loses some speed going up the back straight. So let's see what Peter Dunne can do. Can he keep pace with Bradley Beavers, or is he going to get caught here by Stan Warner, who's right up behind him? Of course, neither of these drivers were able to show their potential in the last race because they were already off at the first corner. So these three could be quite similar on pace, potentially. As they come around to the end of the first lap, Brad Beavers comes across the line, leads the race by a few kart lengths, must be said, and Stan Warren has gone off into the barriers. And that is a big crash. He's come out of the kart. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if that was a red flag situation there. That was a big crash coming out of the last corner. Still lying down there. And there is now a red flag coming out, unsurprisingly. So there will be a stopping of proceedings while the medics check that Stan Warner is all right. He's currently lying on the floor. He did come out of the cart. And one of the medics is now running over to the cart. You can see there, as we see a replay of what happened, came in very fast, just carried too much speed and ended up hitting the wall, coming out of the cart. And that is a nasty accident. And the ambulance medical unit is out on circuit. They're dragging the cart away. So Pete Dunne then and Bradley Beavers have stopped on the start-finish line. And the clock is still counting down. We still just under 6 minutes left in this race. I wonder if they will just let that clock count down. And maybe they won't restart this race. And just looking out of the commentary box window, I can see one of the officials signaling to the drivers. I think they're going to be getting back in their karts and maybe bringing them back into the pit lane. As we see there, Alex Kirby pushing her kart back to the pits as they just ground to a halt, so she will be starting at the back of the grid of 4 karts in this next race. As we see, Stan Warner is sitting up. Has been just helped up. He is on his feet, looking perhaps a little winded, but no serious injury by the looks of it. He's just being put in the back of the ambulance. Alex Kirby then pushing her kart back into the pit lane. And if they are going to resume this race, she might be able to get her kart going again, if they're able to repair her kart in time. As the ambulance leaves the circuit now. Never a nice thing to see in motorsport, but the medics are always on standby, and they are one of the reasons that we can go racing, along with the fantastic marshals that we've had at the racing this weekend. I can see out of my window here, and you can see on your screens there, Alex Kirby getting her helmet back on, and it looks like they're adjusting something on the spark plug. I can see in front of me. See the other drivers there, just waiting on the start finish. So the clock's still counting down, 4.5 minutes. So we may well get about a 4-minute race. So presumably then, if they get Alex Kirby's kart started, they will restart her, but 2 laps down. And they are lifting her kart round, and they do look like they're going to restart her kart. And she is going to join the back of the queue. So I can see out of my commentary box window, I can see Jay Fairbrass deliberating with some of the marshals and organizers about what to do, whether to restart this race and give them a reduced distance, or whether to lead them back into the pits. They only completed 1 lap, so I would be surprised if they told them to go back into the pits now. And Alex Kobe is being told to restart and drive round to the start-finish line now. So off she goes. She'll rejoin the back of the pack, and I did see the grid marshal signaling to her saying, "You will be 2 laps down, you are aware of this." So around she goes. But any track time is valuable. And that says to me they will definitely have a restart. In fact, she's pulled it in front of Peter Dunn and Bradley Beavers. So, as they've only completed 1 lap, they may well do a complete restart. So what I can see on the screens, it looks like they're reorganizing the grid once again. And it looks like you can see Jay Fairbrass there having a word with Alex Kobe. So whether they're saying to her, "We will have a complete restart," or "You will be 2 laps down." So the grid marshal there explaining to them what exactly is going to happen, and we'll be able to tell exactly what's going to happen when they get rolling again. Just looking through the comments from the last race. We'll say hello to Terry Calvert and Sean McKinn, both supporters of Jake Calvert. I'm just hearing through my ear now that they are going to be doing a restart. They'll be doing it single file as the karts get ready to start again now. The grid marshal ready to wave them off as Pete Dunn does get going. And Bradley Beavers just signaling there. His kart just stopped again straight after it started. So see what happens here. They're having to lift up the back axle of the kart in order to get him going, but he is now going. That's Peter Dunn looking over his shoulder there, waiting for the other 2 to catch up. And they are now catching up. And there is going to be a restart with Peter Dunn leading the way from Bradley Beavers. And Alex Kobe, by the looks of it, behind them. So they're making their way round to the start-finish line. We'll find out in a second whether there will be a reduced race distance or whether they will do a full race distance. Here they go. Coming around to the start-finish line. Green lights are on and we are racing once again. And Bradley Beavers gets straight into the lead of the race. Into turn number 2. Peter Dunn just not able to keep pace as Alex Kobe goes through around the outside there. And you imagine, yep, down the inside goes Alex Kobe and gets past Bradley Beavers as well. So that red flag did help Alex Kobe somewhat. And she was able to get back onto the circuit and get track time. So before the red flag, Bradley Beavers looked like he was slightly faster than Peter Dunn. But I think the two of them are quite similar on pace, so we'll see how this race unfolds. They head down towards the hairpin now. Kobe ahead. Not sure if that's for track position or whether she's unlapping herself. We'll find out when she comes across the line here to complete another lap. And Alex Kobe is still 2 laps down. So Bradley Beavers leads then from Pete Dunn. 6/10 clear as they cross the line. And he does look like he has slightly better pace. Looks like he has slightly more bite in his cut, more front end grip as they head up the hill. Heading around once again then. It was 6/10 last time round. What's the gap this time? I reckon it'll increase. This is to 1.1 seconds now. The gap is from Bradley Beavers over Peter Dunn. Peter Dunn looks like he's been struggling with understeer throughout the weekend, I would say. He looked to struggle quite badly in the rain. He had several offs as a result of just understeering wide. And it doesn't look too much better in the dry. Whether that's tire pressures or the cart's setup, I'm not too sure. So Bradley Beavers then finally able to show what he has in store in this pre-final, having had incidents in the previous 2 races. He broke down before the race even started in the first heat. And in the second heat, got involved in a tangle on the first corner. It's Darren Warner. And Peter Dunn lost even more time on that last lap. 2.6 seconds is the gap between the two of them. It looks like he may potentially have an issue. He looked quite slow going up the top part of the circuit. And you can see him there gesticulating. Out of frustration, saying, I can't. So Alex Kobe then, maybe a couple of laps down, but she still has excellent pace coming through the first corner now. And starting, I would imagine, from 3rd place. We're in the final half minute then, which means this will be the penultimate lap of the race. As we see Peter Dunn heading up the hill can just see there, it just looks slow on the top part of the circuit. I think he's struggling for acceleration coming out of the slow corners, is Peter Dunn, and that's just compounded by the understeer issue. As Bradley Beavers then starts the final lap ahead of Peter Dunn, 3.8 seconds up the road. Bradley Beavers, after his issues in the first couple of races, seems to have got it together. You see Peter Dunn really struggling with the handling of the kart, really fighting it, coming through the first few corners. Up the hill then goes Bradley Beavers for the final time into the top section of corners. So coming around the final sequence of corners then, Bradley Beavers started in fourth but takes the victory in a reduced race. And Peter Dunn finishing 4.3 seconds behind. So struggling for pace there in that race. We'll see how the final goes, whether we have Stan Warner in it or not. We wish him well after that big crash that led to the race being red flagged. So we're in for an exciting set of finals there for F100 in pre-2000, in pre-95, in Aqua, and in the Jika category. And I will see you then. But now I'll hand back over to Alex for the BKC coverage. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Ben. Great to see Bradley Beavers, who is also son of Darren Beavers, BKC Series founder and coordinator as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to get to the business end of round 7 of the 2018 Bambino Kart Club and Interkart Championship Series. Luke just asking me a quick question. Hopefully everyone can actually hear me live and direct from North Essex as opposed to Northern Ireland. So we're in the business end of today's action here for round 7 of the championship. Also, the good thing is that we have 4 GP champions to crown here in Northern Ireland. But first things first, we have to do our penultimate time trial for the C50 Comas. Yes, Luke Austin, they can hear me. If I can do this whilst connecting to a call that is being streamed to me directly from Northern Ireland, it's also the Downforce UK audio network, which is also broadcasting simultaneously. We are in both sound and vision. So we are now going through with time trial number 3 for the C50 Comas. Last time out, it was the O plate of Alfie Howland that took the win. Very closely fought in that one. Jesse Phillips in the number 26 was second last time around. Alex Butler was third. Ben Smith, who took the initial heat of the day, was fourth ahead of Jason Park. Seb Moore, who in the number 50 from Rochdale, had some trials and tribulations in heat number 2, unfortunately having an issue that put him down the order and saw him finish 6th in there as well. So we've had 18 competitors do pretty well this weekend. Times at the top have been pretty competitive. The top 4 in the last heat, as we see Alfie Howland now coming into shot. He won the O plate back at round 3 of the championship when we were in Cumbria, in Rowra, at the Cumbria Kart Racing Club. Fantastic weekend that was, which was the second time that Alpha Live were with us. This is the 4th joint production where both Downforce UK and Alpha Live have worked together in some capacity. Fantastic imagery that they provide. Benchmark times now coming in. Well, I don't know where that time has come from, Ben Smith, but that is absolutely ridiculous. He's just set a 1 minute 21.852. No one has gotten close. The thing is that the times at the moment will not be considered reference to the GP plate. When we go to the last event, which will be the C50 Comas, it's 12 minutes, and the person that scores the fastest time in that heat becomes the GP plate champion. We still have 3 other GP plate titles to decide here at Nuts Corner, with the Iami Bambinos coming up next, then the Honda Cadets and the Iami Cadets. So it is time to see if we have a possibility that 2 of the drivers that have secured O plates this year may even secure GP plates, but it is still very early to tell at this particular moment in time. 5 minutes, 30 seconds on the clock in this penultimate C50 Coma time trial heat. So top 10 at the moment is Ben Smith with a 1 minute 21.852. I can't believe I'm saying that yet again. Jesse Phillips, well, hang on, where is this pace from Ben Smith coming from? There's something that's been unlocked in that kart, as Ben Smith's just done a 1 minute 20.821. Alex Butler moves up into second on a 1 minute 23.336. As we have Alfie Howland now into shot. It's another new track for the O-Plate champion. He's currently running 5th at the minute on a 1 minute 24.269. So until we got to the end of heat number 2, where Alfie scored a 1 minute 23.530, that has quite literally been obliterated by Ben Smith, who took the opening time trial. So Ben Smith leads from Alex Butler, Jesse Phillips, Seb Moore, and Alfie Howland. That is your top 10. Top 5. As that's Ben Smith coming into shot now. Evan Johnston in 6th, ahead of Lucas Stonia. Ethan Barth now back in the lower part of the top 10, which he was in on the first heat before he got a slight tap from on the back bumper. Might have been from Jack McLaughlin or maybe even Jack Paul. Couldn't really make out by the footage. Jason Park in 9th and Jack McLaughlin in 10th place. And again, this is where the formative side of kart racing comes into the fore. When Lewis Hamilton started as a 7-year-old in karting, there was no sort of time trial. There was no sort of get the basics down and see how you go. It was like saying, you know, Lewis, let's get you out of the frying pan and into the fire. Well, that was the learning experience from the youngster the then youngster from Stevenage, who is now a 4-time Formula One world champion and is battling with the likes of Sebastian Vettel for this year's 2018 FIA Formula One World Championship. Of course, the Hungarian Grand Prix is completed. I am not sure of the results. I have been avoiding social media apart from when it comes to the BKC and, of course, the fantastic F100s. Really, really good to see that we've been able to join them this weekend here at Nuts Corner. The sun still trying to break through the clouds as we now get to less than 3 minutes to go. So Ben Smith still leads, ahead of Alex Butler, Jesse Phillips, Seb Moore, and Alfie Howland. And you've got Evan Johnston, Lucas Stonia, Ethan Barth. Ben Smith's been running that was quite a consistent lap time there by the number 11. 1 minute 20.873. So it looks like there's been an increase on the temperature side of things, around about sort of 17 degrees in the local area, with no rainfall as of yet. There has been some dark looming foreboding clouds. Hopefully we can get all the action completed before they do decide to open up their contents on Nuts Corner, which we don't want, especially with what happened yesterday. 1 minute 45 on the clock. Ben Smith continues to dominate heat number 3 for the C50 Comas. Just keeping an eye on any improvements at the moment. Oliver Meek, currently down in 13th place, was in the top 10 well, actually, he was in the top 10 for a brief spell in the last heat before ending up 11th. That's his best finish of the season. Oh, and looks like we've got Ronnie Ray Carter stuck there on the inside part of. So just trying to get him underway, and he now starts to circulate. 60 seconds on the clock to conclude the penultimate time trial for the C50 Comas. Smith leads, Butler, Phillips, Moore and Howland. That is your top 5, followed by Johnston, Stonia, Bath, Park and McLaughlin. And we've also got the number 51 of Jack Poole off. So he's now, so yellow flag is out. "20 seconds remain, and no one has been able to challenge the sheer superiority this time around, as there's another card off track there of Ben Smith and the number 11. 1 minute 20.821. That is impressive pace. Impressive pace around the 1140 metre facility here in Northern Ireland. So, time has expired. And on the last lap, what on God's green earth? Ben Smith has done a 1 minute 20.093. That means he wins heat number 3. That's 2 to him, 1 to Alfie Howland. Checkered flag waves. So Alex Butler confirmed in second. Jesse Phillips third. Ronnie Carter comes across the start-finish line. Finishes 17th ahead of Riley Stewart. Lucas Stonia 7th. Jason Park ends up in 9th place. As more competitors make their way towards the start-finish line. Jack McLaughlin rounds out the top 10. Ethan Bath 8th. Jack Moran at 12th. And that's Ollie Meek just going across the line. 13th quickest for the number 20 there. So let's run you through the pretty much what is going to be the finishing order for heat number 3 for C50 Comas. Well, as I say that, Alfie Howland has just gone 4th quickest on his last attempt. Without further ado, let's go through the running order. Ben Smith takes heat number 3 for the C50 Comas by with an impressive 1 minute 20.093. Alex Butler was 3.2 seconds adrift in second ahead of Jesse Phillips and O-Plate BKC champion Alfie Howland. Seb Moore rounds out the top 5 with a 1 minute 23.674. His last lap wasn't the best. It was a 1:55, so probably another problem for the Rochdale youngster. Evan Johnston, Lucas Stonia, Ethan Bath, Jason Park and Jack McLaughlin round out the top 10. Ahead of Rory Armstrong, Jack Moran, Oliver Meek, Jack Poole, Jensen Chalk, Brogan McDonald, Ronnie Ray Carter and Riley Stewart rounding out the 18 strong. So, it's time for GP plate action here at Nuts Corner in Northern Ireland. We're set to get underway with the first of our 4 GP plate races. The last one this weekend will be the C50 Comas, and that will conclude the Bambino Kart Club commentary coverage this weekend as one of the karts that could be the number 51 of Jack Poole. I'm not 100% sure. But with that being done, we now have 4 more races to conclude round 7. The championship then heads to Larkhall in Wee Bonnie, Scotland. First weekend of September. Funny enough, it's just before my birthday. So I think I probably might be having, well, off track, a little bit of a wee dram maybe on the Friday night because I'm flying to Scotland on the Friday. So September 2nd, then we head to Llandau on the 23rd of September. That is the penultimate round of the 10-race weekend calendar before we head to Fulbeck just 3 weeks later, October 14th, which coincides with the DTM 2018 season finale. On October 14th, So we're just waiting for the Iami Bambinos to head out on track. What a great race we had last time out for heat number 2. I am getting ever more impressed, and it was a brilliant battle, a great duel between Tig Buckley, the Irish Plate champion, and BKC O Plate champion Riley Cranham. Now, Riley was also the first person in BKC history to win the prestigious GP plate, and he took that last year at Hooton Park. Last year's O Plate BKC champion was Joseph Katsantonis, who went up into cadets, was with us for one round at Wilton Mill, but opted to move on to other things. So the main thing is that we have an Irish champion and an O-Plate champion. This one is going to be one to not keep your eyes off. 12 minutes this time, plus an additional lap. This is for all subsequent races, Honda cadets, Iami cadets, and C50s. And by the end of today, we will have 4 new GP plate champions, or could Riley Cranham do the double here in Northern Ireland? We're moments away for getting lights out and the action on. So it looks to be that we're going to have the likes of... Now, this is dependent on their points with regards to it. So I'm going to hazard a guess here that I think that you're going to probably find that Riley Cranham is going to be up at the front end of the grid. So will Jacob Ashcroft be. He was 3rd last time out. Joe Lewis, Chandler Mann, Tig Buckley will be factoring in there. Henry Domain, I think, might even be up there in the top 6, but they're just getting on towards the starting grid procedure, as they do now. Connor Scarisbrick looks to be on row 4 alongside Max Haller. I've also just seeing Teddy Woodard's a little bit further down the order, as is Rudy Breen. He looks to be right at the back part of the field. Just keeping an eye. Jacob Ashcroft looks to be on the front row, and to his right on pole position, that is the O-Plate of Riley Cranham. So hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. 12 minutes plus an additional lap. Iami Bambino GP Plate 2018 Bambino Kart Club to be decided over the next 13 and a half minutes. Now, there are drivers up and down this field that we cannot discount. Joe Lewis, Chad LeMan, Henry Domain, Fraser Anderson, Connor Scarisbrick. He might be a little bit further down the order, the youngster from Ormskirk, who also hails from the same place as Riley Cranham. But here we go. Engines being started. It's the last spate of action for the Iami Bambinos. So, red lights on the starting gantry. 5-second board. Yes, I did say 12 minutes plus an additional lap. And we go green for the final time for Iami Bambinos here at Nuts Corner. It's the drag down to turn number 1. Who's going to get there first? It's Riley Cranham. And going with is Joe Lewis. Jacob Ashcroft being hung out on the outside of turn 2, but has the inside run going into turn number 3. Slots back into 2nd position. Looks like Fraser Anderson's made up a couple of places in the progress. Look at this squabble from Ashcroft all the way down to Fraser Anderson. Scarisbrick is absolutely flying as well. The 08 plate now up into 4th. So field now moves down the back straight. So it is Cranham from Ashcroft. That's your top 2. And in the last part of the shot, I could see Senna Blue Breslin, the number 78. And there we go. Tig Buckley, he's factoring into this already. And he's up into 3rd place. Scarisbrick now up into 4th, ahead of Fraser Anderson from Scotland. And look at Buckley. He is just literally waiting to pounce. He's got the slipstream on Ashcroft. Is he going to go round the outside of the youngster from Western Supermare going into turn 1? No, backs off, thinks better of it. But we've seen Ashcroft go round the outside. We've seen Tomilewski from Honda Cadets go round the outside of other people at turn 1. Scarisbrick pumps in the fastest lap of this race. 1 minute 18.727. And he's taken half a second out of Tig Buckley, who's going up the inside of Jacob Ashcroft for 2nd, going into turn 4. Nice work by the Irish champion. But Ashcroft, I think, will factor into this GP plate final as it happens. 10 minutes plus 1 additional lap to go here. So Cranham still ahead from Buckley, Ashcroft, Scarisbrick, Anderson. That's your top 5. In 6th place, I think, at the moment is Max Haller from Balsall Common. No, he's not anymore. It's Chad Leman from Ireland in the number 16. So it looks like a couple of drivers. There have been quite a lot of changes. Joe Lewis down into 10th place. Thomas Clark 8th. Teddy Woodard now down into 13th position. Leaders coming through round the final corner. Here comes Tyg Buckley on a charge. And in front of him, he's got Riley Cranham. 0.072. You think the finish is going to be close this time around? I bet it definitely will be. We've seen photo finishes pretty much all day long. Forget the so-called photo finish at Snetterton between Jack Goff and Ashley Sutton. But the BKC with BTCC having some sort of prominence here through Power Max Racing. Team Hard, obviously, Team Hard not being represented this weekend through Ralphie Reeves and Bethany Freeman. They should hopefully be back with us at Larkhall in Scotland on the 2nd of September. But here comes Tyg Buckley on a charge down the back straight. He's got the inside run. He takes the lead from Riley Cranham. So 8 minutes, 55 seconds on the clock. This duel is now reigniting from heat number 2 when it was 0.052 at the flag. And the last time around, it was 0.072 between the pair. How close is it going to be? And is Cranham going to have the run coming out of the final corner? Well, he's getting his head down, getting that aerodynamic advantage going into turn number 1. He tried to go to the inside, but Buckley had that pretty much earmarked. So 1 minute 13.499 last time around for Tyg Buckley. Riley Cranham, it was 1 minute 13.636. This gap is definitely not dwindling in any way, shape or form. It's 0.065. Look at Cranham. He's definitely on the offensive, definitely wanting to do the double here. If he can do this, this will be a first in BKC history. As Scarisbrick's up the inside of both Anderson and Ashcroft for 3rd place. Nice work by the number 08 plate. But now Ashcroft slots back in front. So 7 3/4 minutes plus an additional lap to go here in Northern Ireland for the Miami Bambino GP plate final. Oh my goodness, Fraser Anderson's got a run on Connor Scarisbrick heading down towards turn 1. Riley Cranham in the lead now. Sets purple this time around. 1 minute 13.194. 1 minute 13.297 for Tyg Buckley. Ashcroft 2nd. Scarisbrick, Anderson ran out your top 5. Then it's Cole Glover, Chad Leman, Max Haller, Thomas Clark and Joe Lewis. That's your top 10. Henry Domain actually has got past Joe Lewis for position. So number 65 from Houston now up into 10th place. Jacob Giblett-Lee, I think, has just been passed by Rudy Breen from Scotland. That's for 12th place. As Anderson goes up the inside of Scarisbrick for 4th place. The trio now make their way onto the back straight. As Buckley's back up in front of Riley Cranham. So Cranham, Buckley, Anderson, Ashcroft and Scarisbrick is your top 5. And you can see, well, look at the funny thing is when they cross the start-finish line, the 2 leaders, it was Cranham in front of Buckley, 0.038. That's how incredibly competitive these two are. And it's 0.086 as they cross the start-finish line. And Anderson has gone round the outside, just clean past Ashcroft for 3rd place. So whilst this trio is battling, both Buckley and Cranham are pulling away. Cranham, well, it was 0.8 differential between Cranham and Anderson last lap around. And the gap between Riley Cranham and Fraser Anderson at the moment is 4.1 seconds. And this is as a result of Cranham and Buckley pulling away from the rest of the field, concentrating on their own battle. As Cranham's back in front now. 5 minutes, 20 seconds, plus an additional lap to go to decide our first GP plate winner for Bambino Kart Club 2018. We held it last year at Houghton Park. Now it's here in Nuts Corner with the sun clearly showing prominence on the racetrack. Buckley has got the momentum going down into turn number 1. He's coming alongside Cranham. Cranham knows that he's got to pull in behind and does so very, very quickly to give better momentum into turn 2. Less than 4.5 minutes on the clock, plus an additional lap to go. Buckley still leads from Cranham. They were 0.017 of a lap. I'm going to have to look at the result sheets for between Ollie Goodyear and Jack Burrows at the Honda Cadet final last time out at GYG, because if this carries on, Cranham and Buckley are on course to do exactly the same. They've got 4 minutes plus an additional lap. Meanwhile, in the battle for third, it is still nip and tuck between Ashcroft, who's now in 5th place, having been overtaken at the end part of the back straight between with Scarisbrick now up into 4th, Anderson in 3rd, Ashcroft now in 5th. And looks like Cole Glover's having a bit of a lonely race at the moment in 6th position, ahead of Chad LeMan, with Max Haller being hounded a little bit there, coming through the penultimate corner by Thomas Clark, the number 90. And looks like Clark has got the run on Haller, who I will be honest, I've been keeping an eye on some of the social media feeds through some of the parents and also through some of the drivers' actual racing pages that Max Haller is preparing for an upgrade. And I don't mean Bambino, I probably mean Cadet here, but he's been doing really, really well. He's been keeping himself pretty composed in Miami Bambino all season long. But meanwhile, at the front of the field, you cannot put anything between our drivers, as it looks like that there is Henry Domain ahead of Joe Lewis. But let's try and see if we can pick up the leaders. They're coming into the final couple of corners of the track. 2.5 minutes or just under thereabouts, plus an additional lap. It is still Buckley and Cranham. There we go. There we are. There are the leaders heading down towards the final corner. So not so much of a momentum switch in the favour of Riley Cranham this time around. But he really, really closes up. It's side by side going into turn 1. They were 0.131 of a second apart last time around. As we now come into the business end, it is clearly going to be either Buckley or Cranham that will be our GP plate champion for BKC 2018. As Cranham is going for it, now is the time to make the move that could decide GP plate history here at Nuts Corner. We could have a new winner, or we could have the person that does a clean sweep for the 2nd year in succession of GP plate. 90 seconds plus 1 additional lap. The leaders have been running in the 1 minute 13.3s. That is incredible pace. They have been keeping that consistent all day long. Cranham still leads from Buckley in 2nd. So with the pace they're setting at the moment, we get to 1 minute 13 on the clock. So we now come around to the final corner. So there'll probably be just over a minute remaining on the clock as Buckley is going for the inside run down into turn number 1. So it's going to be this and an additional lap. He swoops, he goes cleanly up the inside. There was just about enough room between the pair for that to be facilitated. But Cranham is still there, still waiting for his chance. 35 on the clock, plus an additional lap to go here at Nuts Corner for Miami Bambino GP plate final here. It's been a great duel between the two at the front. They have pulled their gap to over 10.2 seconds from Connor Scarisbrick, who is now up into 3rd place ahead of Fraser Anderson, well, who's now, I think, dropped behind Jacob Ashcroft. So 10, 9, 8, 7. They're going to get to probably about 3 or 4 corners to go. Time now expired. Now is the moment of truth. Now we come through round the penultimate corner for the penultimate time of asking. Now it is on between Buckley and Cranham. Who is going to take the GP plate? Last lap board it is, less than 1,140 metres, and Cranham is going to go for it. He's going towards the inside. Buckley shuts the door firmly in his face at turn number 2. Just a few more corners to go. Let's keep an eye on this battle, because Buckley is trying to keep Cranham at bay. Cranham is battling him, and that is a very impromptu and brazen chance going into turns 4 and 5. Now into turns 6 and 7. They go for the final time. Onto the back straight go our 2 leaders. It's nip and tuck between them. Side by side. Oh, there's contact between the pair of them. The pair of them spin off at the end of the back straight. What drama as they both rejoin. That's incredible drama, incredible drama. The 2 leaders tangle at the end of the back straight, and it's a drag race down towards the final couple of corners. Cranham gets his nose ahead and gets in front of Ty Buckley, but this has allowed the likes of Fraser Anderson, Connor Scarisbrick, Jacob Ashcroft. Now, obviously, this is provisional, but Riley Cranham's about to come around the final corner. It's nearly side by side. It's a drag race to the finish. Who's going to get it pending a steward's decision? It's, oh, Ty Buckley! Ty Buckley, subject to a steward's decision. I think that's going to go to stewards post-race. That could be that Ty Buckley takes the GP plate subject to official confirmation. Riley Cranham, that is the closest finish in BKC history. Riley Cranham denied, following not just the clash at the end of the back straight. If we can get a replay, here we go. They come towards the back straight. Cranham's on the outside. Buckley's on the inside. Oh, and I don't think Buckley turned... Well, Cranham was trying to seize the moment, seize the day, and turned in and caught Buckley. The pair got underway, but 0.032. What a dramatic end to our first of 4 GP plate finals here at Nuts Corner. Let's run you through the finishing order. So pending a steward's decision, which I very much think will happen, Ty Buckley is provisionally the BKC 2018 GP plate champion by just 0.032 of a second from Riley Cranham, last year's GP plate champion. Cole Glover rounded out the top 3, 3.8 seconds adrift of the leaders, just fractionally ahead of Connor Scarisbrick, who I would imagine continues to extend his lead in the championship at the moment. Fraser Anderson from Scotland, who won round 6 in GYG, took home 5th place ahead of Jacob Ashcroft. Chad Leman was 7th ahead of Thomas Clark. Max Horler, Joe Lewis rounding out the top 10 ahead of Henry Domain, Rudy Bredin, Jacob Giblett-Lee, Teddy Woodard, Poppy Thomas, and Senna Blue Breslin. Well, that's one GP plate provisionally decided, I'm going to say. But now, ladies and gentlemen, let's take your attention to our second GP plate to be decided this afternoon. Welcome back, Honda Cadets. 12 minutes plus 1 additional lap. 9 competitors in our Honda Cadet division. And following on from this, we will have the IAMI Cadet final as well, also going for the GP plate. So fastest lap went to Riley Cranham actually in the Bambino IAMI final. Ty Buckley and Riley Cranham both posted a 1 minute 22.5 on that last lap. That's how tension-filled that was. Right, so it looks like we have our front row is going to be Joseph McMahon is on 2nd on the grid, I think, or is he on 1st? Let's just have a quick if we can get a camera shot looking at the front of the grid, I can see that Kasper Tomilewski's on the inside. So it looks like Joseph McMahon is on the outside. So that would put Jack Burrows on the inside, putting him on pole position. Looks like Kasper Tomilewski and Lewis Stannard will be row 2. Yep, so Jack Burrows on pole, Joseph McMahon on second place with Kasper Tomilewski and Lewis Stannard row 2. Then we go to row 3. Ollie Poole in 5th. Looks to be, I think that might be Charlie Gardner on that row as well. Canoan is right at the back part of the grid. He's 7th ahead of Jacob Anslow, another driver alongside Logan Howes that is sponsored by Power Max Racing. So Laser Tools was being showcased in the last final. Now in this one, it's the turn of Jacob Anslow, who, if memory serves me correctly, has Fireboy Racing as his official Facebook page. So you can type that into your search engine. Feel free to have a look around and keep an eye on these drivers, these potential superstars of the future. It's been an absolute pleasure so far commentating on them this season. I'm looking forward to Larkhall, which is only, probably about 5 or 6 weeks away. Never been to Scotland before. Obviously, this was due to be my first scheduled trip to Northern Ireland. But hey, I am there in spirit, but not in body. So grid has been cleared. And we're just waiting for it. Lights out, and away we go for the final time for Honda Cadets. It's the run down to turn number 1 here at Nuts Corner. And looks like Joseph McMahon is in second place behind Jack Burrows. Tomilewski in third place ahead of Stannard. Ollie Poole looks to be in 5th position. Ruben Canoan, I think, might have just jumped up. Well, hasn't jumped up any positions yet. But McMahon is trying to go on the inside of Jack Burrows, heading into turn number 4. The number 16 is a little bit wiser to that on this particular occasion. Kasper Tomilewski from Poland, based out of Glasgow in the number 20, currently 3rd at the moment. Lewis Stannard in 4th in the number 8. Ollie Poole looks to have dropped down behind Charlie Gardner. So that's 5th and 6th respectively, as there's a dice for the lead at the end of the back straight as Stannard goes up the inside of Tomilewski, who's straight back on the offensive, going into the latter part of the track. So Stannard now ahead of the young Polish driver. So Burrows leads, McMahon in 2nd, Stannard 3rd, Tomilewski 4th. Then it's Gardner, Poole, Canoan, Butlin, and Ashton, I think, Anslow, I think, as the leaders go down into turn number 1. A little bit of a bump from behind from McMahon onto Burrows. And if you ever come to a Bambino Kart Club meeting, ladies and gentlemen, these engines sound even better in person. It's like a musical symphony from Beethoven for your ears, if you're a petrol head. As Kasper Tomilewski is still trying to force the issue with Lewis Stannard, and that was very close. Now, Tomilewski could have gone for the gap there, but thought better of it. As McMahon has is trying to force the issue with Jack Burrows. Lewis Stannard has gone and set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 12.841. So 10 minutes 40 on the clock left to go here. And you can see how these drivers are just hustling these karts along. As McMahon's trying to go towards the inside, he's got the inside run. He goes past and takes Jack Burrows for the lead of the race. Now into turn 2 they go. Tomilewski, you can see, has got great purchase. Oh, that's very wide from Burrows. 3 wide going in towards turn number 3. My goodness. Lewis Stannard now takes 2nd. Tomilewski gets past Burrows for 3rd. So through that slight mistake when Jack Burrows came wide out of turn number 2, it allowed both Stannard and Tomilewski to get into the top 3. Now they have to work together as, fastest lap of the race. Kasper Tomilewski from Poland a 1 minute 8.997, a clear 3/10 quicker than any of the competition at the moment. That's impressive pace from the youngster. Now McMahon leads, Stannard second. Tomilewski in third place. They now come around the final corner, 9.5 minutes to go. And it's getting incredibly close. Top three separated by less than 3/10 of a second. Tomilewski on the hunt, takes a wider sweep. And I tell you what, that gets him a better run. That's what he's been using to get better runs on the opposition up in front. But he has been waiting and biding his time. He's got 8 minutes, 20 seconds, plus an additional lap to go here in this last race. This is for the GP plate. So the top three are breaking away. They've broken away already. 1.7 seconds between third and fourth. With Charlie Gardner now up into fourth place past, looks to be Ollie Poole, and Jack Burrows has now slipped all the way down into sixth position. So top three, you can't take them apart at all. Lap times between the top three last time around. 1 minute 9.2 from McMahon. 1 minute 9.177 from Stannard. Tomilewski 109.249. So leaders coming across the start-finish line now. 0.36. Well, Joseph McMahon's just gone and done the fastest lap of the race. A 1 minute 8.858. On lap 4. Stannard nigh on, nearly 0.2 of a second adrift. Tomilewski a further 10th behind. But the gap is closing between Stannard and Tomilewski, as is the gap between Charlie Gardner, who's out in front of Ollie Poole at the moment. It's nip and tuck between the pair. Poole was thinking of a move going into turn number 6, which then leads them through the quick left-hander at turn number 7. Onto the back straight they go. Top three now in shot. Going down towards the back part of the track, 7 minutes, 8 seconds, plus an additional lap to go here in the Honda Cadet GP final. Still some dark clouds looming in the background, but it is still not phasing any of our young Honda Cadets currently out on track, as Stannard is trying to go and get past McMahon. Oh, that was very close in terms of the lap times between them yet again. 1 minute 8.963 for McMahon. Stannard, 1 minute 8.866. Tomilewski, 8.94, 1 minute 8.947. So leaders going down the back straight. It's still too early to call. We've now elapsed half time in this particular cadet final, with an additional lap to follow. 1,140 meters here at Nuts Corner. Fantastic open circuit, and really been enjoying the action all day long, and it's still not abating by any signs here in the Honda Cadets, but then also we've got the Iami Cadets after this one, as Kasper Tomilewski has literally set the timing sheets up in purple yet again. 1 minute 8.726, and he's trying to go side by side nearly. Oh, he nearly had the run on Stannard. Could have parked it on the outside of turn number 3 there, the Polish driver, but he thought better of it. So they're now going to head on to the back straight. Less than 5 minutes plus one additional lap to go in this Honda Cadet BKC GP plate final, as both McMahon and Stannard take a look over their left shoulder to see Tomilewski pretty much with them. Then you got the battle behind. Looks like Ollie Poole's got past Charlie Gardner for 4th position. Jack Burrows still with them at the moment. So leaders now come around the penultimate corner. This is lap number 6. And it looks like there's a good run from Tomilewski. Well, didn't have quite the run that he was probably hoping for, as Joseph McMahon has just done a 1:08.711. Fastest lap of the race on lap number 7. As Tomilewski is still trying to force the issue. He needs to get past Stannard pretty quickly in order to facilitate that attack on the GP plate that will be the winners, what will be in the possession of the winner of this particular final. But this is allowing Joseph McMahon in the number 33 to get away. And Stannard is not letting Tomilewski past very easily at all. Tomilewski is having to fight for this. And there we go. It is silly side by side between the pair going through into the latter part of the track. And this gap has increased exponentially between first and second, as Tomilewski is still trying to get his way past Lewis Stannard. And now they are nearly side by side going into turn 1. Stannard blocks the path off yet again. Tomilewski is trying to swoop up the inside, heading towards turn 2. Now he's gone a bit wider, using that momentum tactic that he's been using all day. It's not worked out this time. So McMahon has extended his lead to 1.4 seconds. The distance between Stannard and Tomilewski last time around was 0.083. As the pair now come onto the back straight, Stannard now takes a look over his left shoulder. And Tomilewski is still going with him. We're in the business end of this Honda Cadet GP plate final. And whilst McMahon is driving away from the rest of the field, it's a battle for who's going to be second best here in Northern Ireland, with Messrs Tomilewski in third and Stannard in second, still battling over the same piece of tarmac. And Tomilewski is still not having the luck yet. He comes alongside, side by side. 1:30 on the clock. He's going to try and go for it, but Stannard instantly reacts and closes the door very quickly. Takes a bit too much curb there, does Stannard. He did that in the final at GYG, which was to his detriment, but he's managed to keep it all locked in. Meanwhile, Joseph McMahon, with 1:20 plus an additional lap, is on his way to take the win. But we've got to keep an eye on the battle for second still. Lewis Stannard and Kasper Tomilewski battling yet again at the top part of the back straight. And Tomilewski gets the switchback and manages to make the move after at least 3 minutes of trying with Lewis Stannard to get past the number 8. But finally, the Polish driver succeeds. But I think it might be a little too much, too late. Now he's in second. He's going to try and get his head down. He has got 1:17 plus an additional lap to go in this Honda Cadet final. What a way to finish. Well put, Darren Wright. I'm not going to exactly put what he said in there, but he said that was one heck of an Army Bambino final. Definitely, mate. Definitely. I hear you on that one. So, time is about to expire. So, time has expired. The next time he comes across the start-finish line, whoa, Lewis Stannard goes up the inside of Kasper Tomilewski on the last part of the back straight to retake second position. So I've got a feeling it's going to be last lap board for Joseph McMahon. Apologies for cutting across there, but I could not comment on that. That's been absolutely, well, takes my breath away. Lap 11, last lap board shown to Joseph McMahon. Lewis Stannard in second, Kasper Tomilewski. Oh my goodness me, this is very close between the pair, and a quick gesticulation there, right hand raised by Kasper Tomilewski. Frustrated about, I think, just how quickly Lewis Stannard cut the door off, or quite literally cut the nose off the front of his cart, even though the back bumper of Stannard's cart and the front bumper of Tomilewski's are still both very much intact. So the leader is now on the back straight. And again, Stannard is not making Kasper Tomilewski a very happy man. But look at this. This has allowed Ollie Poole to close up. Stannard's going to try and go for it again. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, let's turn our attention to the final corner of the final lap and the 2018 Bambino Kart Club GP plate goes to the number 33 of Joseph McMahon, 2 hands off the wheel. And second place goes to Kasper Tomilewski, ahead of Lewis Stannard, with Ollie Poole and Charlie Gardner in very, very close proximity. So there we go. Joseph McMahon is confirmed as your GP plate Bambino Kart Club champion in Honda Cadet for 2018, winning by 5.5 seconds ahead of Lewis Stannard, with Ollie Poole and Charlie Gardner rounding out the top 5. Jack Burrows was 6th, ahead of Jacob Anslow, Ruben Kernowen and Ashton Butlin. So, 2 GP plates decided, 1 provisional, I might add. So, we'll find out a little bit later on what is decided. Obviously, these are dependent on the actual, if there's a steward's decision, which I think there might very well be. We'll see what happens with regards to the collision between Tig Buckley and Riley Cranham. But well done to Joseph McMahon. I can confirm that man was number 33. He's now GP in Bambino Kart Club when he races with us the next time in 2018. Now it is the penultimate GP plate to be decided here at Nuts Corner in Northern Ireland. Thank you very much for everyone continuing to tune in on the Downforce UK audio network and, of course, on the Downforce UK and Karting Magazine Facebook pages, as well as the dedicated Alpha Live channel. A big thank you to our good friends from Northamptonshire who made it across the water, unlike myself. But thanks to the efforts of Luke Austin, kudos where kudos is due. His colleague and fellow Alpha Live director is currently in Beccles. So hopefully, Luke, I've given you guys more than enough plugs. I always tend to these days. So looks like your front row again is going to be Callum Graffin and also Jack Buckley. You see, I'm so excited, I can't even get names right. So again, this will be, so it looks to be that Callum Graffin will be on the front row. Jack Buckley in second. Looks to be that we'll have Thomas Thompson. I can stop plugging you now. Well, lights out and away we go here in Miami Cadets. It's now down. We're heading down into turn number 1. Callum Graffin takes the initial advantage ahead of Jack Buckley. Thomas Thompson. Well, Luke, if I don't keep on plugging you, you're not going to get more exposure, are you? You're not going to get enough mentions. I feel it's only right to do so, mate. You know, working relationship and all, and good friendship, of course. So Callum Graffin now needs initially the GP plate final. I know your logo is top left. I'm having to concentrate on the action, my friend. You see, the banter continues from GYG between myself and James Fitzhugh. Absolutely hilarious time up there, I have to say. These guys are fantastic to work with. No ifs or buts. They're great at what they do, and it's a fantastic pleasure to work with them every single time. Meanwhile, let's carry on with the action, shall we? Callum Graffin and Jack Buckley lead the way. So we're about to complete the first lap of racing action in the Miami Cadets GP plate final. And coming into shot, we got the number 21 of Harley Cranham with... who looks to have been possibly lapped there. That looks to be the... Well, so Well, there we go. More changes up the field. Oh, and we got a spinner. That's Jack Sant. Oh, and there's somebody else. That's TJ Tafe. I don't know if we caught that on camera, Luke.
BKC C50 Comas GP that will now run as the last final of the day.
So there was a panic announcement that I just overheard there whilst I was keeping an eye on. Let's have a look. Right. Okay. Let's just see what happens here. Okay. So Gray's on the outside. Oh, that was 3 wide. And that looks to have been, I'm wondering whether Gray was on the inside. That was both TJ Tafe and also Jack Sant, which has allowed the likes of Sherry Ann Powell to go way up the order. I think she might be running 5th or 6th now, as it's now the turn of Jack Buckley to start leading the field ahead of Callum Graffin. Looks like Luke Agnew and Thomas Thompson still 4th and 5th respectively. Thomas Thompson goes and sets the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 9.712. Yep, Sherry Ann Powell now up into 6th place, 0.95 of a second behind Michael Gray. She's also got Kenzie McNally for company, as the leaders are still duking it out. So the battles for 1st and 2nd and 3rd and 4th are very much occupying our screens at the moment, with Jack Buckley leading from Callum Graffin. So leaders coming through down across the start-finish line to start lap number 3. And in the meantime, Thomas Thompson still has got ahead of Luke Agnew for 3rd place. Sherry Ann Powell is being hounded by Kenzie McNally for 6th place. McNally took nearly 0.2 of a second out of the young lady from London last time around. So Sherry Ann Powell in the number 42 still battling tooth and nail over 6th place. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Jack Buckley continues to lead from Callum Graffin. That's numbers 10 and 88. Thomas Thompson is going to be pressurised a little bit here going onto the back straight. And whilst they are battling, this is allowing Michael Gray in the 17 to close on them hand over fist. 0.6 of a second last time around. So leaders come round the final corner. This is our battle for 3rd position. So Thomas Thompson up front in head of Luke Agnew in the number 44. As Callum Graffin retakes the lead, and Agnew is trying to go around the outside of Thompson. That could have worked, as Michael Gray has gone and set the fastest lap of the race, the first Army cadet in this particular heat. And it looks as if he's actually set the fastest lap time of an Army cadet today. Thomas Thompson had that honour in Heat 2. Michael Gray has just bettered it by 0.061 of a second. That's how finite the gaps are. And at the front of the field, look at this. It's side by side, heading down onto the back straight. Buckley keeps it clean and tidy on the inside. Last time around between him and Callum Graffin, it was 0.071 of a second. As they came across the start-finish line, they're coming around the penultimate 180-degree left-hander. Let's find it. Oh, the gap hasn't changed much. 0.073 of a second here at Nuts Corner between Jack Buckley, who leads. Callum Graffin was literally 2 1,000ths of a second a couple of laps ago off of breaking the 70-second barrier. But Michael Gray, I think, has already passed Luke Agnew and also Thomas Thompson, and has also set the fastest lap of this race, a 1 minute 9.364. That's incredible pace from the number 17. Let's just have a look at this. I think he might have done. That looks to be the case, because Luke Agnew is behind. Well, it was briefly for a minute. So Michael Gray currently getting elbows well and truly out on the two battling over second and third and fourth position. And this could come to blows if they don't pack it in a little bit. Oh my goodness, what a move up the inside from Michael Gray, up the inside of both Luke Agnew and Thomas Thompson around the final corner. The pair was squabbling so much. As here we go, Thompson's going for that move on that trademark move I think he's got for turn 2 here at Nuts Corner, and gets back past Michael Gray for third place. So all 10 carts still circulating. With Jack Sant now down in 8th position. TJ Tuff is now down in 10th and last. So looks like our leaders are changing positions yet again. Callum Graffin seems to have an advantage on the end of the back straight. And it looks like Luke Agnew is also trying to make good his intentions by trying to get up into the top 3. With the top 2 now having broken away. The gap between what was Callum Graffin's position, but is now Jack Buckley's position. Last time around was 3.6 seconds. As Buckley's going side by side, wheel to wheel, pod to pod, and swoops past quite significantly in front of Callum Graffin. That is the biggest that gap has been extended to over the past 4 or 5 laps. Last time around, it was around 0.072. It's now jumped up to 0.186. Oh, contact warning. Well, that's a warning for the number 13, Thomas Thompson. So whether that's been for a contact warning there. No, that's fair enough. Well, we don't know what the warning's for. It's either going to be one or two things for Thomas Thompson. It's either going to be a contact warning or flagrant use of exceeding track limits. So that's just a warning. There's no black flag or anything like that. But meanwhile, at the front of the field, 3 minutes, 10 seconds to go, plus an additional lap here at Nuts Corner in Northern Ireland for the GP Plate finale. And great work so far by Jack Buckley. He was in the hunt for the £1,000 prize at GYG 4 weeks ago. He's now extending his lead over Callum Graffin to over 0.3 of a second. So leaders come down the back straight. We're now on to lap number 8 here at Nuts Corner in Northern Ireland. So Michael Gray now gets past Thomas Thompson again for position, and has now actually extended the gap between himself and the number 13, who has the number 44 of Luke Agnew for company. Kenzie McNally in the top 6 ahead of Sherry Ann Powell from London. So Buckley now is comfortable and is comfortably extending his lead. He's just done a 1 minute 10.007. Callum Graffin at the moment, 1 minute 10.823. Gap now between the top 2, 1.165 seconds. Luke Agnew rounds out the top 5. Fastest lap of the race so far still is with Michael Gray in 3rd position. The best effort from the number 17 in 1 minute 9.364. We have less than 60 seconds plus an additional lap remaining. And the way that Michael Gray is closing up on Callum Graffin could be, I hate to say it, could it be that Callum Graffin might lose out even to second place? And as by the video footage shows, that's very, very much a true factor that we can't in any way, shape or form deny. 30 seconds plus 1 additional lap, so that will probably give us another two laps of racing. So Buckley extends the lead over Callum Graffin to 2.165 seconds, but Michael Gray was just literally 0.21 of a second, and he's got past him through turn number 2. He might have even made the move earlier than that. So the number 17 of Michael Gray now in front of the driver that was on the front row of the grid and was in contention for the GP plates. Time now expired here for the Army Cadet final at Nuts Corner. So we're not that far away from finding out who our third GP plate champion is going to be for 2018. And round the penultimate corner comes the number 10 of Jack Buckley. He has just one corner remaining. Or is it actually last lap board now? Well, I thought we were going to be a handful of corners away. So going to make it a little bit more drawn out, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for that. So they're giving more paddock announcements, which I can't really hear from my commentary position. But Luke, if you could just give me some updates so I can let the viewers that know at home what's going on, that would be greatly appreciated. So last lap it is. And Jack Buckley just casually looks over his right shoulder to see Michael Gray closing a little bit. And I'm getting hopefully an update from Luke as we speak. Thank you very much, my friend. You can't make out what's going on and you're there. Okay, right. Well, we'll see what happens unless we get told otherwise. But ladies and gentlemen, your 2018 Bambino Kart Club Army Cadet GP champion is Jack Buckley. Well done to the number 10. Missed out on the £1,000 prize at GYG and returns the favour by taking the GP plate title here at Nuts Corner in Northern Ireland on home soil. Luke's going to find out in just a minute what's going on, but congratulations to Jack Buckley for winning the BKC 2018 GP plate title here at Nuts Corner. So let's round out the finishing order here for this particular race. So Jack Buckley, after a titanic battle for the majority of the race with Callum Graffin, took home the GP BKC plate for 2018. Ahead of Michael Gray by 1.56 seconds, Callum Graffin would have to settle for third place. Ahead of Luke Agnew, Thomas Thompson, who was in the mix all weekend long, rounded out the top 5 ahead of Kenzie McNally, Sherry Ann Powell from London, returning to BKC action after a break from GYG. Jack Sant was 8th after a contact between himself and TJ Tafe, and Harley Cranham rounds out the 10 strong. So we're going to find out. Well, Luke is just giving me an update as we speak. Okay. So we're now going to switch to Ben Topless because C50 GP plate has been moved to the end of the day. So I'm going to break off here and hand over to Ben Topless back in Northern Ireland. Ben, over to you.
Welcome back to Nuts Corner, where it is almost time for the final here for the F100 categories to decide who will get the O plate. The sun is now shining, the temperature is rocketed, which means for the first time today, I have to take my outer layer off. And the first category just getting ready now. This is the pre-2000s. They're not looking like they're rushing especially. I'm just looking out of my commentary box window. I can see the carts being put on the deck. None of the drivers with their helmets on. But after winning all 3 of the races today, Ramey Eastwood will start from pole position in the pre-2000s alongside Gary Turkington, who had to have a bit of a recovery drive in the last race in the pre-final. Noel Brennan will be starting 3rd in the number 14 kart alongside Donald Reagan in the 22. Gary Watling, having finished 5th in the last race, will start 5th in the grand final, with Ross Kernow alongside him and Oliver Smith in 7th. Some notable people further down the grid though. Drew Stewart all the way down in 14th, with Chris Trott in 15th. Derek Wilson in 16th after his retirement in the last race. And Francis Stewart, who's had an awful day so far, in 17th, having incidents in every single race. He's alongside James Barkley and Dale Matthews, who has had various issues throughout the day as well. So we're just preparing now for the race. They've just had a call on the tannoy for pre-2000s to go to the grid, but yeah, still waiting for them to get ready. If you were watching earlier, you might have seen in the junior F100 Stan Warner have a nasty looking crash. And I'm pleased to report that he was up and fine. He was aching slightly, but fundamentally he was okay, nothing broken, still in one piece, and it looks like he will be taking part in this final. So now we just wait. It looks like most of the drivers now have their helmets on. So as you can see on your screens there, needless to say, that rain is not going to be an issue. It's beautiful all of a sudden. The heat has gone up exponentially. Just some info about Chris Derrick. I was able to speak to him. This is number 1 in the pre-95 category. His engine failed on the warm-up lap, which is very surprising. You would expect the engines to fail usually when they're at high speed, when they're under a high amount of strain. But Chris has failed. He just ground to a halt on the start-finish line. And I went and spoke to him, and apparently the engine failed. So he'll be starting down in 5th position in pre-95, which is the back of the grid. So now it looks like we're almost ready to go. The drivers have their lids on. I can see the grid marshal just getting ready to send the pre-2000 drivers off, but I can still see number 22, Donald Reagan, still getting his lid on at the last second. These races are going to be 10 minutes plus 1 lap now. They were planning on making them 12 minutes plus a lap, but the time lost from today is just too significant, so they've had to reduce the time of the finals. So the grid marshal then gives the green flag, and the pre-2000s do lead their way out onto the circuit then. As we see there, Remy Eastwood leading the way out onto the circuit on their formation lap. Now tyre pressures are going to be something to think about during this race. It's a longer race and the heat has gone up quite a bit, so I imagine most of the drivers will drop their pressures quite a long way. They don't want their tyres to wear out towards the end of the race. Now, in the cold conditions this morning, they would have been putting their pressures up, so that they came in very early on, but then ran the risk of wearing out right towards the end of the race. They don't need to worry about that in this session. I'm just looking at the number 44 there, Dale Matthews, running around quite slowly at the back of the field. You see him on the camera now. He has got going again. That's the last thing we would want to see, is Dale having yet another problem, as leaders do go around again and at quite some speed. They need to back it up a little bit. As he is now doing. Remy Eastwood now beginning to slow down, but not quite enough. Turkington backing them up a long way. And Dale Matthews has stopped again. He's stopped again on the pit lane entry. So another problem for Dale Matthews. His weekend has just been riddled with problems, particularly today. The engine just not running right. So that's an awful way for Dale Matthews' weekend to finish. And I can hear him out of the commentary box window. Not happy at all. So the leaders then come into the final part of the lap, and they are all together, so we should get a green flag this time round. And if Geraint Turkington is going to take the fight to Remy Eastwood, he's going to have to keep second place, which is what he failed to do in the pre-final. As a result, he was on the back foot. But let's see if he can get a better start this time. Light to green and we're away. Brilliant start from Remy Eastwood. Not a good start for Turkington at all. Already down to 5th place. He's been hung out to dry badly there, and he's just been forced wide again. So Eastwood with a big lead already. Noel Brennan up into 2nd position. And Oliver Smith all the way up into 5th place. 6th place even. And making the move down the inside, trying to get 5th. But not quite able to do so. See there, Chris Trott is ahead of Drew Stewart. The two of them, of course, collided in the last race. This is why they're both so far down. They're now working alongside each other. As Francis Stewart there, getting a little bit wide. Also coming from the back of the field. So that's a bad start there for Geraint Turkington. He's already dropped a long way back. I'm trying to work out where he is. I think he's already 6th or 7th. As the drivers start lap number 2. Remy Eastwood leading then from Noel Brennan. He's not pulling away from Noel Brennan. He's having a good race so far. He's had a good first lap. He's only 0.3 ahead as they cross the line. He had good pace in the pre-final, did Noel Brennan, but he didn't look quite on a par with Eastwood. Let me see how this race pans out as they head up to the top of the hill now. Donald Reagan running in third, but dropping back from the top two. As we have a lunge there, I think that's Turkington. It is, and he is ahead now of Gary Watling, who had a good start as well. But Turkington much quicker at this stage. Let's see where he can get back up to. A longer race, of course, so there's more time to recover. As once again, look at Noel Brennan. He's able to keep pace really well. He's getting close down the straights. As Gary Turkington now begins to close in on Donald Reagan in the 22 kart. But not that much. And in fact, Ross Kernow has had an excellent start. He's ahead at the moment. You see there in the 84, he was able to make quite a good recovery drive in the pre-final, and he is at the moment ahead of Gary Turkington. As they make their way around to the end of the lap, you would imagine that Turkington will have a good run coming down the start-finish straight. And with a bit of slipstream as well, he's going to have a good run coming towards the first corner. Not quite close enough for the moment. He's looking further back at Chris Trott. He's on the back of Ben Yemmons and Oliver Smith at the moment. So he is up into 8th position. And he just got past Ben Yemmons. Meanwhile, Drew Stewart getting past Andy Black, I think. As Francis Stewart makes an overtake on the back corner, but then runs wide and loses the position back. And Chris Trott there, making the move on Oliver Smith, but then going wide, and he loses speed. He's lost a lot of time, and he's now in the clutches of Drew Stewart, while Ben Yemmons is all over the back of Oliver Smith again. He gets a run down the start-finish straight. Let's see if he can make the move. Not quite. Meanwhile, Noel Brennan is still all over the back of Ramey Eastwood. Eastwood's not pulling away at all. He looks to have good speed down the start-finish straight, and that's enabling him to close back up every time. Battle for third is getting close. You can see here on your screen, Donald Reagan, Ross Kernow, and Gary Turkington all heading into the back corner. They're getting quite close to each other. And we've got a collision up at the top of the hill. We've got Francis Stewart, who's collided with, well, it's hard to tell from this distance, but there's a yellow flag off. Who's that? We'll find out in a minute as they cross over the line. Once again, I can just see Chris Trott getting very close behind Oliver Smith and making the move on Oliver Smith. Drew Stewart lunges down the inside and gets past Oliver Smith as well. And it was Adam Wardell who was at the top of the hill. He's managed to get going again, but he is a long way back now. Heading up to the top of the hill now. Turkington pulls out to the inside of Ross Kernow and makes the move stick. So the 22 of Donald Reagan lost the positions and dropped down to 5th. And now Turkington is back up into 3rd place. And we've got 2 more karts off in the middle of the circuit. But the number 4 of Lee Gadsby is one of them. He's managed to get going again. There's another kart stationary. I'm wondering whether that's Andy Black. No, it's not. It's Paul Warner. Paul Warner's off, and he looks to be out of the race, unfortunately. Now, Ramey Eastwood seems finally to have found his feet and is pulling away just a little bit from Noel Brennan. But this is still an excellent race so far from Brennan, and they are both keeping the gap to Turkington in third place. Chris Trott, meanwhile, he's on the back of Ben Yemens. You can see here on the screen. Running up the hill. Not quite close enough to make an overtake, but his pace is looking good at the moment. Drew Stewart right behind him as well. As the leaders come round, these are the two runaway leaders at the moment. Remy Eastwood and Noel Brennan rounding the last corner and onto the start-finish straight. Meanwhile, Chris Trott is close behind Ben Yemens now. Can he get a good exit on the straight and have a go into the first corner? Not quite. What about into turn two? Is he going to have a lunge into here? Tries, thinks about it. But not quite close enough just yet. Chris Trott back up into 7th position. He's making the lunge down the inside of Ben Yemens and makes it stick. So he moves up another position then. Next up is Gary Watling in the Gillard as he runs up the hill now. Watling has had good pace all day, but seems to be struggling a little bit in the final as Chris Trott gets straight past, but then runs wide and Gary Watling cuts back underneath. So maybe just coming into that corner just a little bit too fast to make the move stick. Let's see if he can get a good run onto the start-finish straight. He does, but it's not nearly good enough to make the overtake into the first corner. He's got to be careful because he's still got Ben Yemens close behind and Chris Trott almost thinking about a move there. Oh, wheel barging there between Chris Trott and Gary Watling. Trott lunges back and manages to get the position there. All the while, Drew Stewart has managed to pass Ben Yemens, and he's now all over the back of Watling himself. All the while, the two leaders out front have pulled a big gap ahead of Turkington in third place. As Drew Stewart now close behind. Watling thinks about a move, but that's not really an overtaking spot. Going to try again onto the start-finish straight, but not quite close enough, I would say, to try a move. And again, not close enough into there, but he can get a good exit and try and move down the inside. He gets alongside, and it's a clean pass. Nice move from Drew Stewart. He's moved up a place now as well. So the front 5 or 6 are getting a bit spread out now as Ben Yemens thinks about a move, but Gary Watling cuts to the inside and stops that. But he makes the lunge back as Drew Stewart. This is a replay of an excellent overtake, anticipating that Watling would switch to the other side of the circuit and then just pounce at the last second. Great overtake. Chris Trott, meanwhile, is starting to close in on Donald Reagan. Just realized that Ross Kernow isn't showing up on our timing screens, so Chris Trott is in fact 6th, not 5th. So Ben Yemens, Donald Reagan, I should say, starting to be closed in on by Chris Trott as they run up the hill once again. Turkington, amazingly, not making an impression on Noel Brennan. And Ramy Eastwood, having looked like he was being challenged to begin with, just maintaining the gap. He looks to be under control. 1.5 minutes to go in this grand final. 1.5 minutes left for Ramy Eastwood to hold on. Noel Brennan's going to keep pushing. He's within a second, as he has been throughout the race, but he's just not quite got the pace to live with him. And Chris Trott has made the move past Donald Reagan, but Reagan's going to try and come back. Not quite making the move back past Chris Trott. So Trott has moved up into 5th place now. Not sure he's going to catch Ross Kernow in time, but an impressive comeback drive Having started in 15th place, he's now up into 5th position. As Ben Yemens now trying to come back at Drew Stewart and does make the move stick, but then runs wide, and Stewart always ready to cut back underneath. As the race leaders then coming around once again, they don't want to be taking any risks with their engines. They're going to be making them all rich. They don't want to lean their engines too lean. Ten seconds to go, so this will be the penultimate lap then for Ramey Eastwood, as Oliver Smith has come into the pits and is out of the race. So not a great day for him either. And Stephen Cook-Martin, I completely missed this, but he has been out for a while. His kart's in park firmly as well. So Ramey Eastwood then, he's got a second gap now. Noel Brennan running in second. He looks resigned to second position as Ramey Eastwood comes around now to start the final lap of the race. Turkington closing in a little bit, but not enough to have a go. And Francis Stewart, we can see here, is he going to try and overtake going into turn 2? No, not quite. He doesn't want to make his day any worse by causing a collision on the final lap. Eastwood then running up the hill, and Francis Stewart has made that move on Ben Yemens and has made it stick. As Eastwood comes around the final part of the circuit, he's catching Lee Gadsby to lap him, but he will back off, I would imagine, now. He's coming off the final corner then. And Ramey Eastwood wins it to take the O-plates at Nuts Corner in pre-2000. Excellent race from him. And there was quite a close battle behind, involving Drew Stewart and Francis Stewart as well. And there's a few karts that have been stopped in the pit lane. But a nice controlling drive then from Ramey Eastwood, and he wins the O-plates. Noel Brennan put up a fight to begin with, but he just wasn't quick enough in the end. And there are a lot of karts stopped at the end of the pit lane. Looks like Turkington, he has dirt on his tyres, so I imagine he's probably gone off and caused a bit of a plug in the system. As number 24 of Andy Black. So this is the result of the grand final. Ramey Eastwood takes it by 2.2 seconds in the end from Noel Brennan. Gary Turkington, again, that bad start costing him time and possibly potentially costing him the win as well. Chris Trott made it all the way up to 5th because the number 84 of Russ Kernow finished in 4th. Donald Reagan came in 6th. Drew Stewart made it all the way back up to 7th, just ahead of Francis Stewart and Ben Yemens. And then further down, Oliver Smith pulling in with just a lap to go, and Stephen Cook-Martin pulling in halfway through the race. So they're going to be trying to get these guys out of the way at the end of the pit lane because they want to be getting the pre-95s, 89s, and Aquas out onto the circuit as quickly as they can. I can hear them starting up their engines there. But they could be waiting a few minutes. A lot of them are just electing to put their karts on the trolleys and wheel them back down the pit lane like that, as opposed to push starting them and pushing them down the pit lane. As the number 16 of Derek Wilson and the number 3 of Paul Warner. You can see on your screen there, Paul Warner wheeling his cart back, not bothering to get the trolley, just pushing his cart back. But on a hot day like it is now, that's going to be Pretty difficult. Add insult to injury. So it looks like we're almost out of the way then. The pre-2000s are back in the pit lane on their trolleys, which means we should be getting going any second now for the next race, in which we could have quite a close battle. It's James Reese that's going to be starting from pole position alongside Jake Calvert, who both of them had a hell of a battle in the last race, trading positions lap after lap, and they were very closely matched. And they are being let out now. Alan Woodrow starting in third behind them. And in the pre-95s, Alistair Topless will be starting on pole position alongside Leon Dolby, with Andrew Godfrey starting in third ahead of Pete Bracken after his off in the last race. And then Chris Derrick, after his engine failed on the warm-up lap in the last race. And of course, Chloe Scott at the back, the sole pre-89. And I can just see the number 63 of Jake Calvert just looking at his engine there. Seems to be okay at the moment. He hasn't stopped yet. No cause for concern just yet. I would imagine these carts will be going round again because Andrew and Godfrey, once again, quite a long way back from these leaders, so they'll be going round for another warm-up lap. And you can see there the grid marshal just telling them to slow down, just to back it up, as they go around again. Number 72 coasting around quite a bit behind his other two competitors. And number 72 is going quite slowly indeed. Just wondering whether he might have a problem there, because he's dropping back even further from even the pre-95s, who have all overtaken him now. As the number 71 and the number 63 of James Reese and Jake Calvert just back off now as they run up the hill into the top section of the circuit. Running around then into the last section of the circuit, you can see Alistair Topless there weaving to try and get heat into his tyres. As I was saying earlier, they'll drop the pressures just a little bit so that the tyres will go the distance. They don't want to worry about initial pace, they want pace long term. So they will still be trying to get the heat into the tyres. Are we going to go this time? We are. Green light, and the number 71 does lead into the first corner. Number 63 is going to make a lunge down the inside, but not quite close enough. Meanwhile, Alistair Topless is leading in the pre-95 ahead of Leon Dolby. The number 73 of Peter Bracken holds third position. And there's a lunge for the lead. The number 63 does go past and through into the lead. The number 71. He's going to cut back underneath, though. He's got the inside line running up the hill. Tremendous stuff again from these two, as Alistair Topless goes past. Number 61 takes back the lead. James Reese is back through ahead, as Alistair Topless gets ahead of Chloe Scott in the pre-89. And there's a lunge down the inside. Peter Bracken gets past Leon Dolby and up into second position in the pre-95s. So they come round to complete lap one, and it appears that the number 72 has gone missing somewhere. He's stopped in Parc Fermé. Number 71, James Reese, leads at the end of lap one, with the number 63 of Jake Calvert just behind him. Does he have the pace to stick with him, though? If he does, we could be on for another excellent race between these two. Meanwhile, Alistair Topless has bridged a bit of a gap here at the front over Peter Bracken. And Peter Bracken has spun. He's spun off at the on the corner. As Leon Dolby then moves into second place and Chris Derrick up into third. Another spin after a spin from the second race. And Leon Dolby's gone off as well at the top of the hill. So two of the pre-95 runners off on the same lap. Leon Dolby, we don't know whether he was helped off the circuit or whether he did it on his own accord, but that's giving Chris Derrick a clear track as he passes Chloe Scott in the pre-89 class. That's giving him a clear track to try and chase down Alistair Topless, so we could have a fight here for the win in pre-95 as the number 71 of James Rees continues to pull clear. Peter Bracken is out of the race. He's stopped by the side of the track. He's got a few kart lengths now over Jake Calvert. So unfortunately not looking like he has the pace this time round. So Leon Dolby did manage to get going again, but he is half a lap down now on the leaders, unfortunately. Chris Derrick, let's see if he has the pace to keep with Alistair Topless this time round. As I say, his engine let go in the last race before the race even begun. So we weren't able to see what his pace was like. But for the moment, Alistair Topless bridging a gap over Chris Derrick. The leaders in the F100 Aqua come round again. And James Rees does continue to pull away at the front. So we watch Chris Derrick now pushing hard to try and keep up with Alistair Topless. There's still 8.5 minutes to go. And from what we've seen in the other races, Chris Derrick's tyres do tend to come in later on in the race, which is why we nearly saw Chris Derrick winning the first heat over Alistair Topless. So that could be a factor later on in the race. There is a few seconds between them at the moment, but that could all change. That's a long race. Andrew Godfrey, as a result of Peter Bracken's and Leon Dolby's spins, meanwhile, is up into third position in the pre-95s. Leaders come around again once more. Number 71 leading from the number 63. And Alistair Topless leading the race in the pre-95s. Chloe Scott, meanwhile, running just behind Andrew Godfrey, the sole pre-89 kart. So she has already won the O-Plate, so congratulations to her. But out there just today to have some fun. And for the weekend, in fact. And what other reason is there to race than to have fun? Race leaders in the Aqua category come round once more then. James Rees continuing to pull away. Just looking slightly more composed, I would say, than Jake Calvert. Calvert, a lot more aggressive, carries a lot of speed through the corners, or into the corners. And it can sometimes compromise his exit speed. Alistair Topless maintaining sort of a 2.5 second gap. He won't want to be pushing his engine too hard. He wants to be turning it out, making it rich. Not making it lean unless absolutely necessary. There's Leon Dolby, meanwhile, sad to say, running out on his own after that spin at the top of the hill. As Jake Calvert just comes past me now, looking very sideways. As we see now on the screen, the two race leaders. James Reese and Jake Calvert. I thought when Jake Calvert managed to get ahead on the first lap, I thought that he might be able to defend it quite a bit harder, but unfortunately he went wide on the next corner, and that just enabled James Reese the opportunity to sneak back up the inside. As Chloe Scott then pulls into Parc Ferme, so she has decided not to take any further part in this race. That confuses me a little bit, unless there's a problem with her kart. Just looking out, it looks like there might be. It looks like they're looking at the steering for some reason, so maybe there's an issue with her kart, which is the reason why she's pulled in. Alistair Topless then. Coming through the first corner, still with a bit of a lead over Chris Derrick. Around about 3 seconds, so he's maintaining the gap. James Reese then crossing the line once again. Around about 4 minutes to go. Just over. And the two race leaders looking quite comfortable where they are at the moment, able to maintain their gap over the nearest cut. And Jake Calvert again getting all over the curb, running sideways through the corner. Pushing for all it's worth. Just watching Chris Derrick through this corner. He doesn't look quite so quick now as he did earlier. He looks to be sort of coasting it into the corner, so whether that's resignation or just exhaustion from this heat, or potentially the grip starting to wear off. And Leon Dolby appears to be going slowly, going up the back straight. He just started to slow down a little bit, but he's got going again. So he's around about half a lap behind, so it doesn't really make much difference at this point. If he were to stop on circuit, it would just be a shame to end his weekend in that way. Now what's the top list then? Continuing to have around about a 3-second gap to Chris Derrick. As we see him now running up to the top of the hill, choking the engine. Just making sure that the engine doesn't seize. That's the last thing you'd want with 2 minutes to go. Running around the final section of circuit through the last corner. Just checking over his shoulder. He's got a big gap to Chris Derrick. You might be able to hear the noise there with him running over the curbs on the exit of the first corner. James Reese then with a 3.3 second gap out front as he comes across the start-finish line once again. Just over a minute to go, so he'll have maybe 2 more laps before they go on their final tour. As James Reese laps Leon Dolby there. Coming into the carousel section of circuit as they run up to the back straight. Now it's the topless. Crosses the line once again, leading with a few seconds in hand throughout this race over Chris Derrick. 20 seconds to go then. But it does look like James Reese is going to make it round to the line, so they will do another lap. This will be the penultimate lap for the race leader. There he is then, the race leader. He's led comfortably throughout. As we watch now, James Reese coming around the final section of circuit through the last corner. Onto the start-finish straight. Last lap board being shown now for James Reese in the 71 cut. Just checking over his shoulder, just lifting off the throttle. Coasting around now with a 4.8 second advantage over Jake Calvert. He did everything he could on the first lap, but it wasn't quite enough, and he wasn't able to live with the pace afterwards. As James Reese now practically coasting around the circuit. Meanwhile, Alistair Topless in the pre-95 starts his final lap. And again, he's just coasting it towards turn one, just making sure that the engine doesn't let go on the final lap. As James Reese coming around the final section of circuit now. Looking over his shoulder, coasting around and through the final corner. James Reese crosses the line to be able to win the final of the F100 Aqua and take the O plates. Jake Calvert finishes in second, less than a second behind on the line. That's how much James Reese backed off. Meanwhile, we're watching Alistair Topless in the pre-95s. He started on pole position. Led away from the start, didn't lose any positions, didn't lose any time in passing Chloe Scott. Alistair Topless comes across the line to win the pre-95 O plate. Chris Derrick comes home in second place. A very controlled drive in the end then from our two race winners, James Reese, and Alistair Topless. So this is the result then, James Reese winning from Jake Calvert in the F100 Aqua. Alistair Topless taking the O plate then in the pre-95 category, winning by just under 2 seconds ahead of Chris Derrick. And Andrew Godfrey coming home in third in the 33 cut after Leon Dolby and Peter Bracken went off on the same lap. Chloe Scott, having pulled in a few laps towards the end, wins the pre-89 O plate. And Alan Woodrow pulled into the pits before the race even began. So we're almost done here. There's only one category left, and that is the Junior F100. And just looking out of the window, I can't see Stan Warner waiting on the grid, so it could be that there was too much damage to the kart sustained in that crash in the pre-final. So on the grid we have Bradley Beavers starting on pole, having won the pre-final, ahead of Peter Dunn and Alex Kobe, who has been flying all day long. So the Jickers then coming around to the end of the lap. You would imagine that they would only need one warm-up lap as there's only 3 on the grid. And as you can see on the camera, it's turned into a beautiful day here. I'm very hot here in the commentary box, despite losing a layer. Can't imagine how these guys feel in full-on race suits and how the marshals feel having run around all day. 3 of them then coming around the last corner. Alex Kobe giving a bit of a shove. And it's a good start for Bradley Beavers. He's pulled away as Alex Kobe moves into second place ahead of Peter Dunn. Peter Dunn looking back down the inside there and coming back through. But then Alex Kobe taking the position straight back with the inside line going into the 3rd corner. So it is Beavers from Kobe as they run around the first lap. I wonder how much of a fight Bradley Beavers will put up against Alex Kobe. I wonder how much of a fight he can put up against Alex Kobe, who has been the fastest all weekend, it must be said. If she's going to make a lunge going into the hairpin, she's going to try stick her nose down the inside, and she does get through. So Alex Kobe does take the lead. Bradley Beavers tries to fight it back, but is not quite close enough to make the move. So Alex Kobe then leads at the end of lap 1. And now into turn 1 again. The fight now is to see whether Bradley Beavers can hold off Peter Dunn, who for the moment look to be quite similar pace. As they head up the hill once again, the gap between Beavers and Dunn was around about half a second over the line. And they look to be a similar distance apart. Once again, running down the hill as Alex Kobe runs around the final couple of corners. It'd be interesting to see the gap between them. It was 6/10 last time round. And the man who did it's a little bit more this time. Crossing over the line now to complete the 2nd lap. And she has built up a 2-second advantage over Bradley Beavers. Peter Dunn staying within half a second. So if he can continue that pace, there may be a chance for a battle later on in this race. But Peter Dunn has been looking to be struggling for grip throughout the day and throughout the weekend, it must be said. He's been struggling to get that kart to turn into the corner. And again, that was demonstrated just then. I could see out of the commentary box window. He struggled to get it turned into the top corner. You can almost see him on the screen there, bouncing up and down in the kart. It must feel so slow, but there's nothing you can do to make the kart go any quicker. Alex Kobe then has built up the gap to around about 3 seconds. And Bradley Beavers is stopping. So Bradley Beavers is pulling over with a problem by the looks of things. Out of 2nd place he goes then. And that leaves Peter Dunn then on his own. Out in 2nd position. There's only 2 karts left. And I can see out of the window Bradley Beavers looking quite despondent. Not looking too angry, I would say, but certainly disappointed to have stopped so early on in the race. 8 minutes left then. Alex Kobe then carrying a lot of speed through the 2nd turn. And that just shows how much the track has rubbered in now. Alex Kobe then crossing the line to start another lap and choking the engine very early going down the start-finish straight. Even before the start-finish line, she was putting her hand over the airbox just to stop the engine from seizing. As Peter Dunn comes past the commentary box window, we see him on the screen now. Caught hopping a wheel as he turns into the corner, but hasn't really looked stable all weekend, whether that's tire pressures or the way that they set the kart up with the width of the front or rear axle. But it looked very difficult to drive in the wet, and it looks almost as difficult to drive in the dry. So Alex Kobe then, looking very quick, looking almost as quick as some of the pre-2000s, as we have heard about from the people that have tested these karts. And they're running Comet tires, and they can run any engines before the year 2000. And I'm sure that in the coming future, this is going to be competition for other junior categories, MSA-approved categories like Junior X30, Junior Rotax, TKM, etc. This is F100's equivalent, and I'm sure it can become something very popular. That is Jay Fairbrass's ambition anyway. Alex Kobe again, finishing a lap. Not quite flat out through the first corner. I did hear that some of the pre-2000s were going flat out through there on Friday. I find that very hard to believe, having driven the track myself. Through the undulating section on the top part of the circuit, then it is a fantastic track, is Nuts Corner. For the people that haven't come along, you have missed out on quite an event. It's been a brilliant day's racing. It's a great track, and it is run by some fantastic people. And everybody here at Nuts Corner is grateful to the owners of the circuit and to the marshals for being so accommodating yesterday when the heavens absolutely opened and we were delayed for 2 hours before we could get qualifying underway, and the marshals stayed out until 7:30 in the evening so that we could get our qualifying in. So on behalf of everybody, I'd like to say thank you to the marshals at Nuts Corner, and also to Jay Fairbrass for putting on an exceptional event. And F100 continues to grow and grow and grow as a result of Jay Fairbrass, and this is one of the examples of that. The fact that we're able to expand to younger drivers now. And here's hoping that it can continue to expand into the future. 3 minutes to go in this race then. Only 2 karts remaining, unfortunately. As I said, Stan Warner had a hefty crash in the last race out in the first corner, but had no major injuries. Did see him walking around the paddock looking slightly winded with a little bit of a limp, but he didn't have any other issues apart from that. So I can only suspect that the kart was damaged from the crash, which is the reason that he wasn't in this race. But for the 2 remaining drivers, Peter Dunn and Alex Kobe, this is good track time for them, making the most getting your money's worth, running out on circuit. Alex Kobe then, with just under 2 minutes left in this race, coming across the line to start another lap. As Peter Dunn also coming across the start-finish line now. Now 19.9 seconds behind Alex Kobe, as we see her running through the carousel and up onto the back straight. Again, choking the engine quite early on down that straight. So Alex Kobe will be coming around now to start her penultimate lap. So next time she comes past the start-finish line here, the last lap board will be being shown to her. Quite a straightforward run in the end. And the timer has now gone to 0. Alex Kobe then appears to be coasting around now with one hand on the wheel, effectively. Going through the penultimate corner. Going around then to start the final lap of the final F100 race of the weekend. It's been a fantastic weekend, and Alex Kobe signing off in style with a big gap over Peter Dunn, over 20 seconds. In fact, she has looked exceptional all weekend, particularly in qualifying, with brilliant commitment coming into the corners. Heading now into the final section of circuit, just choking the engine a bit more than usual. Through this long penultimate corner, bringing it back to the other side for the final turn. And Alex Kobe takes the first ever win in the junior F100 category and the O plates as well. Jay Fairbrass there, giving her a high five on the way into the pits. We now wait for Peter Dunn to finish his race. And we hope to see Peter Dunn again racing in the Jickers in the future, as we hope to see that grid expand. So that's it for me. As we see the results, Alex Kobe winning from Peter Dunn and Bradley Beavers retiring fairly early on. But that's it from me for the commentary of the F100 O plates. It's been a fantastic weekend. I want to say thank you to the marshals and to Alpha Live and to all of you who have been watching. Bye-bye.
Well, there we go. Thank you very much to Ben Topless for providing us with the play-by-play action on this weekend's O-Plate Bonanza for the F100 Spirit of the 90s. It's been a pleasure working alongside him in some sort of capacity, if you will. So now it comes to the last event of the day. Now, I want to get back to this. This is the incident that really put the cat amongst the pigeons for me. This was the clash between Riley Cranham and Tig Buckley on the last lap of the last of their last race of the day. You can see the pair get going, but there has been an official decision that has been made, and it is not to do with this incident because due to a technical infringement, Tig Buckley has been excluded, thereby for the second year in succession, the GP plate in the Bambino Kart Club heads back to Omskirk for the second successive year because he's not only the BKC O-Plate champion for 2018, he's also taken the GP plate this year, and that is Riley Cranham. So I really wanted to get that bit of breaking news out of the way, but we have one final GP plate to decide. And due to a change in the scheduling, of course, with the F100s deciding all their O plates for 2018, been fantastic to watch them. I felt absolutely devastated for Bradley Beavers. I have to say, he did a cracking job in the pre-final, but to have mechanical dramas in the last race of the day, the one where it all counted. But congratulations to Alex Kobe. We now have our last GP plate for Bambino Kart Club 2018 to decide, and it is the C50 Comas, who are now circulating out on track. So there's been a couple of drivers that have been factoring into this, Ben Smith being one of them, and also current 2018 BKC O-Plate champion, Alfie Howland. These two have been battling tooth and nail. Seb Moore from Rochdale also has been in this. This particular heat now is the one where it will decide who becomes our Bambino Kart Club C50 Coma time trial GP plate champion for 2018. We've already decided 3 already this weekend. Congratulations to Joseph McMahon, Honda Cadet, also Jack Buckley, Iami Cadet, and now fully confirmed, Riley Cranham is not just the O-Plate champion, he's also the GP plate champion following the technical exclusion post-scrutineering of Tig Buckley. But I have to say that was definitely one of the moments of the season, as we see both Seb Moore and Alfie Howland literally line astern. I've seen this quite a few times. For those that had a look at the Downforce UK Facebook page, we posted our preview this morning in the form of a 3 and a bit minute roundup, and I got a complaint. Aidan Hassan, get well soon, buddy. Hopefully see you at Larkhall. So first 2 times coming in, and it's Seb Moore, 1 minute 28.034. Alfie Howland, 1 minute 28.253. Lucas Stonia up into second on a 1 minute 28.077. I'd like to also personally thank the entire crews for the Bambino Kart Club, the F100, and also Nuts Corner for their work, also the marshalling team, the people that are running other bits and pieces, so like say the cafeteria, the marshals. They've done a fantastic job to keep us on schedule as best they can today. So our 2 championship protagonists are now going down the back straight, nearly side by side, well pretty much there. And this will conclude the action for round 7 of the championship before we head to Scotland, to Larkhall, to the West of Scotland Kart Club in 5 weeks' time. So the kids will be able to have a bit of a recharge of the batteries, depending if some of these stern petrol heads will have maybe the odd race meet or 2 between them, but also it's time for the parents also to have a bit of a welcome break. I did say thank you, Darren Wright, for that nice little message earlier on when you said greetings from the spa with you and Riley Wright stuck in the paddling pool outside. Nice. And here in North Essex, it's blowing a bit of a gale, clouds overhead, and there is rainfall, which makes a change considering where I'm going next week. Well, there we go. New fastest time, Ethan Barth in the number 24, 1 minute 27.199. So, top 10 at the moment, it's Bath from Moore, Stonia, Howland, Evan Johnston rounds out the top 5. Also, you've got Jesse Phillips in 6th, Jason Park in 7th, Alex Butler 8th. Jack Moran and Jack McLaughlin round out the top 10. Ben Smith, in the meantime, is circulating, but his last effort was only a 2 minute 36, considering he went 1 minute 20 in the last heat. There's Ollie Meek, the C50 cool dude of the paddock. Interviewed that. He's a nice guy. Him and his dad, they're really, really nice to be around, as is every family in the Bambino Kart Club. I'm missing being there in Northern Ireland with them. You've also got Jesse Phillips and Ronnie Ray Carter there as well. Ronnie gave us one of the best interviews all season. You can go to the dedicated Bambino Kart Club YouTube channel, where, as I announced earlier on, thanks to our good friends at Alpha Live, that every single race, every single time trial, every single final will be posted and uploaded on the Bambino Kart Club official YouTube channel, which is created in association with us here at Downforce UK and Alpha Live. We feel it's best to allow people the chance to scroll through races because at the end of the day, we're here to help give these youngsters an opportunity to get their names heard and get them showcased, and that's what we're all about here at Downforce UK. Motorsport should be fun, and with the amount of fun and good times, when I've spoken to multiple families in the BKC, it's a pleasure to be a part of it, and they really have taken me on board as one of their family, despite me being the one getting all shouty behind the microphone. As we've got Ollie Meek, Ronnie Ray Carter, also Jesse Phillips. Jesse's currently running in 6th at the moment, but we are approaching the halfway point in time on this GP plate final. So now I did say earlier on today, could we see 2 of our existing O-plate title winners take GP plates? Well, one has already done that in the form of Riley Cranham. Now it's going to be a case of, is Alfie Howland also going to be another driver to complete that feat this weekend? We still have over 6.5 minutes to go. It's still all to play for. I'm not discounting anybody, because I've seen it before where we had the O-plate and Seb Moore was leading, and literally on the last couple of seconds, Alfie Howland got me so excited I called him Alfie Moore by mistake. Thank you to his dad, Luke, for WhatsApping me from Northern Ireland and telling me this fact. So it's obviously, unfortunately, Alfie Howland's got a bit of a commentator's curse, and the fact I call him Alfie Moore by mistake. But I am trying to watch my P's and Q's. Thank you, Luke, for keeping me in check. So just keeping an eye on anyone that's improving. Jack Moran and Jack McLaughlin have just been doing 1 minute 31s. Which is around about sort of 4 seconds off the pace that's been set by Ethan Barth. Now, Ben Smith, I think, might very well be out of contention. He is actually in the pits. So the number 11 will unfortunately, I think, take no further part in this session, and that's a real shame. Ben is from Ballymena, and he's running on the Tony Kart chassis. That's a real shame for the number 11. So Ollie Meek hits the top 11 once again, a 1 minute 31.660. Just been completed by the number 20. He's from Nottingham, currently running on a right chassis. So we've got CRG, Top Kart, Right, Birrell, Synergy, just some of the providers. So 4 minutes 30 to go as our 2 championship protagonists, Seb Moore leading Alfie Howland through turn number 2. So Moore is 0.437 of a second behind. So Seb Moore's behind Ethan Barth by about just under 4.5 tenths of a second. 0.0437 if you want to get pedantic. Alfie Howland is a further second, is actually a second adrift off of Ethan Barth, but he has impressed me all the way through this season as young Alfie. Very nice young man, loves his motorsport. Big fan of Mercedes, as I attained to earlier on today. So we're going to see some drivers put in some laps. I'm hoping that they're going to be a little bit quicker this time around. So Jensen Chalk now overtakes Oliver Meek for 11th place, 1 minute 31.559 from the number 18. Who hails from Wootton under Edge, currently running on the Synergy chassis. So no improvement from the top three, nor Alfie Howland in 4th. Well, Ben Smith stoned the Crows. He was waiting for his chance, and with 2 minutes and 50 seconds, the number 11 has just put in a 1 minute 27.002. So from dead last to top of the tree, that's what Ben Smith has just done in just one lap. And he's done 3 laps in consideration to what everyone else has carried out. Ethan Barth, Seb Moore, Lucas Stonier, Alfie Howland, all on 6 laps. Evan Johnston, Jesse Phillips. Top 10 are separated by 4.335 seconds in this GP plate time trial here at Nuts Corner. Yeah, Darren, I'm not too sure, if I'm completely honest with you. I'm going to await... well, I mean, the thing is I'm just trying to refresh the timing at the moment. So whether Ben Smith has looked like he'd parked it, I wasn't too sure. As the sun continues to beat down, we'll await for further confirmation, which we'll announce on the Downforce UK page. Timing results we get them as soon as the carts have been scrutineered. Well, Ben Smith has just traded fastest lap times now. Ben's just done a 1 minute 26.479. So Ethan Barth, who's run in the bottom part of the top 10, is now in contention with 1 minute 13 on the clock. Ethan Barth has got to find over 3.5 tenths of a second in the next 65. So your guess is as good as mine as to what might happen. So we got 54 on the clock. Jensen Chalk up into 10th. Oliver Meek now down into 12th behind Jack Moran and Jack McLaughlin. Jack Poole now up into 16th place. So top 10, it's Ben Smith, Ethan Barth, Seb Moore, Lucas Stonier, Alfie Howland, Evan Johnston, Jesse Phillips, Jason Park, Alex Butler and Jensen Chalk. So we have 35 seconds on the clock. So Ethan Barth has improved and has crossed the start-finish line. But Ben Smith, I'm getting messages at the moment. I can agree with Darren Wright from Bracknell. Darren, yes, they are a lot slower. 1 minute 20 was what Ben Smith set, but the times now expired. We're going to find out who our GP plate champion is. There's probably some drivers still carrying out their last laps. Alex Butler finishes in 9th. Jason Park 8th. Jack McLaughlin 13th, Jack Moran 11th. So let's just wait and see what happens, because there are several drivers, Barth, Moore, Stonier and Howland, all on flying laps. Jesse Phillips finishes in 7th, Jason Park in 8th, Alex Butler 9th, Jensen Chalk in 10th, Jack Moran, Oliver Meek, Jack McLaughlin ran out the top 13. Ronnie Ray Carter from Runcorn's about to complete a lap very, very shortly, as is Riley Stewart, Brogan McDonald and Jack Poole. Then we'll have our top 5, along with Evan Johnston, who's currently in 6th. So some of them are about to cross the line now. Ronnie Carter finishes 14th. Jack Poole jumps to 16th. Brogan McDonald finishes in 17th. Riley Stewart, who's it going to be? Well, I think it has been decided, because right now Ben Smith is about to cross the line, and for 2018 he becomes the C50 Coma Time Trial GP Plate winner here at Nuts Corner. So let's round out the finishing order for the GP Plate Time Trial here at Nuts Corner for the C50s. So Ben Smith with 1 minute 26.384 takes round 7 of the BKC Championship, but also with that comes the illustrious honour of becoming the 2018 C50 Coma GP Plate Bambino Kart Club champion. Ethan Barth was in the mix and would finish over 3.5 tenths of a second adrift, 0.0362 exactly. Seb Moore from Rochdale had to round out the podium on 3rd place. It's been close but no cigar for this chap. For 2 of our plates that are up for grabs in 2018, Lucas Stonia was 4th. Alfie Howland, who continues to lead the standings in the C50 division, is in 5th, ahead of Evan Johnston, Jesse Phillips, Jason Park, Alex Butler. Jensen Chalk rounds out the top 10. Rounding out the 17 strong, it was Jack Moran, Oliver Meek, Jack McLaughlin, Ronnie Carter, Riley Stewart, Jack Poole, and Brogan McDonald. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That wraps up the conclusion of the coverage here at Nuts Corner Raceway in Northern Ireland, where the temperatures have risen. I see quite a few familiar faces in the paddock there. So, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself, Alex Goldschmidt, series commentator for the Bambino Kart Club and Interkart Championships, Ben Topless, commentator for the F100's Spirit of the 90s, the entire team at Alpha Live, including Luke Austin, who's been chairing things today, the entire team at Nuts Corner Circuit, the F100 and BKC fraternities, and also for all the drivers, the dads, the mechanics, the support mechanisms, everyone watching at home, the entire team that have been marshalling and scrutineering everything. A lot of hard work that goes back behind the scenes. So without further ado, we bid you goodbye from Northern Ireland, and we'll see you next time here on Alpha Live. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.